is disqualified.
Call to order. Adoption of agenda 2.1.
The council adopt the agenda as presented.
May I have a seconder? All in favor? Number 3, adoption of minutes. 3.1 recommendation.
The council adopted minutes from the regular council meeting held on January 16th, 2019.
Can I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Discussion? I have some changes that need to be done on here.
Okay.
My report, it's missing a C.
Everybody fixed it. Yes. Okay.
And that is it.
We approved
Yeah,
30 errors and omissions.
Yeah, so. Can I have a second on that one? Bob did a motion, Barbie did a motion. All in favor? Introducing late items, we have, one of it, Chris, what was it? 8.6 Poos Park?
8.6?
Yeah, because we have to talk about Poos.
Do we have something here added and extra?
No, we just need a motion to move
Yeah.
the venue.
Okay,
Chris,
Actually,
go ahead.
there's a few here this evening, please your worship. Yeah, we'll make, if we can skip over some, it's okay. We need the PRRD Act Dev ones. I'm sure everyone would like to make that. I'm gonna introduce that before 8.5 anyways, because I've got it on the computer. There's the discussion around Poos Park, and then the art gallery correspondence here.
And what about, the other one we discussed, the BC,
Oh, yes, that can come up.
the BC, what was it called, the production company?
The video production
Company,
advertising.
the tours, whatever, video? That one?
Yeah.
What was it called? BC Films. So that would be 8.7?
8.
8, Food Park is 8.7.
No, I have Poos Park 8.6.
Yeah.
8.6 was.
Act Dev then is 8.7. Just, it doesn't matter.
No.
And then, so 8.8 would be BC Films.
And the art gallery, 8.9.
8.
It's 9.8, it's
Oh,
9.8. It's
9.8.
info.
Yeah,
It's an art gallery.
Yes, for information. So it's 8 point, what did you say, Sally?
9.8.
Nine.
I make a motion to accept late item.
A second.
Okay. Okay, so, all in favor? Okay, now. Where are we now?
Public hearing.
None, delegations none, unfinished business, business arising from the minutes. 7.1 recommendation,
The council received a draft letter to the West Coast Environmental Law for approval.
I have a seconder.
I'll second.
Any discussions on this nice
Wow.
letter?
The language was a little strong.
Well, yeah, that's how I speak. Did you want some changes? Or is that just getting our point across?
I didn't feel the love in that letter.
Oh, I don't feel the love for those West Coast environment people, I don't. No love.
She's not giving any of that, she's giving them.
I don't give any love to anybody that is against oil and gas.
This is in regards to the city of Victoria supporting the,
No, this is regards to the West Coast law, they're environmental people, and they have been causing lots of havoc.
on the.
Oil and gas
Yes,
industries.
okay.
Chris?
Yep, thank you. Just to clarify that, the West Coast Environmental Law was on 1 or 2 agendas ago. I got the date in there, the December 7th, so just before the end of the year. They are an environmental law group that's attempting to drum up business for a class action lawsuit to sue energy companies for the municipal infrastructure damaged as a result of weather events.
Okay.
So in their opinion, if there's a flood, it's clearly Chevron's fault and they should have to pay for it. So, to your point, Councillor Smith, the city of Victoria is one of the signatories. There's a few
Burnaby,
municipalities that have.
today
put their
Burnaby, I
own
just
this,
read,
so,
is on
yeah.
bandwagon.
Yeah, so they're attempting to claim that fossil fuel companies are solely responsible for climate change and to have all of the repair costs.
Barb?
But wouldn't that be interesting to prove?
I'm a little concerned that the city of Victoria would, as a municipality, step up and support something like this.
They have?
What I'm saying is, could we not start a grassroots thing that UBCM contact our delegates who represent the northern area on the UBCM NCLGA, that we don't want the UBCM in Victoria in 2021. And I'm also thinking UBCM 19, okay, be 2020. Also, I'm thinking, you know, for the Village of Poos, I'd like to see pins, us buy about 1,000 pins, that big X UBCM Victoria, and wear them all to UBCM and to NCLGA. And
Jamie, the places that
Or against, yeah. or against
exactly,
voting,
it's
yeah.
like the northern part of the, who do you think
Forget
pays
about
for
pins,
this?
let's have a sweatshirt.
Considering it's 33% of our GPD is oil and gas.
You know what I mean? Who pays for their schools and their hospitals down there? They don't have oil and gas on the other.
They don't.
Their ferries, are they got oars and they paddle them across?
Right now,
What about all of the vehicles for emissions and stuff like that, they're going to the belly? That's changing.
Their tourism, they want more cruise ships to come into the
port.
Into the port?
Yes.
and
The amount of emissions coming from the cruise
then,
ships.
so I think as a village, we should start a grassroots movement and promote
Oil and gas.
oil and gas and let Victoria know that we're not gonna just, if they wanna step up and support this, they don't have their facts, they don't live it every day.
Well, if they
They would rather have the gas from Saudi Arabia with no regulations.
Or, Ken, sorry.
Whoever you are.
Yeah, I answered it.
Mr. Lee, I was gonna say the other guy, but I thought I better not.
You know, I think that is an excellent idea, and to involve the local municipalities around here, in the north, and design a pin, and you guys go down and force. I think that's an awesome
Us
idea.
guys would be here.
The only problem is, that's separate from the matter that we're dealing with.
Yes.
I really like it, right? If you want to put that in as a motion, I like it.
But let's do this first and then Beth
Yes.
can do that one.
Okay,
So what do you guys think that it should be changed then?
nothing,
No,
I like it.
Sealed with a kiss.
Sealed with a kiss. I'll put my own red lips on there. I am so frustrated. People are starving and Victoria's going, no, that isn't a kiss. This is, Victoria is yicking, Burnaby's yicking, they're all yicking, and right now they're down there having the minuses. And it is cold down there and you can't tell me those suckers have turned their heat up. So, but all in favor?
Hey Christopher, I would like to make a motion that we look for a pin, purchase about 1,000 with the first order, and start a grassroots movement to boycott the city of Victoria for municipal functions, for provincial functions.
Because she started the ball rolling on it.
Like, and we're a small village, but we can get pretty loud.
Did Victoria start it, or did Whistler start it?
They both at the same time.
At both at the same time.
I like it. I really like it.
But she's been yicking, Lisa Helps has been yicking since I first became mayor. Because we stood on the Parliament building stairs and announced LNG. and she got just her panties in a twist, and then had to have one in the afternoon. And she pulled up in her convertible, walked across the street over to the cameraman, and proceeded to tell him all what's wrong with Alan G. So, yeah. And there's,
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
We have to get somebody to design.
You don't want me to design it, because you already read
Something,
my
a
letter.
big red extra or something, we'll think of something.
Alistair might be able to help.
Well, you can always do an oil one.
We'll come up with a couple of designs and bring back to council. We're gonna order 1,000 of them, especially, it should be something you guys,
That's a pump.
Put your-
But we've got the Peace River Municipal Association to attend with their pins, we've got the NCLG.
We have, there's also t-shirts out there that we can purchase that are, I love Alan G. That's also out there too. So
We should get some for museum and
Yeah.
NCLG.
all of us that are going down there have, can I have a motion for that? Who go down to any of those functions, be wearing.
I make that motion.
Can I have a second? All in favor? Okay. Now, new business 8.1 recommendations. Somebody gonna read it?
That council approved the registration in the local finance course with Dalhousie University for Councillor Drover for April 2019.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mark?
I'm kind of opposed to this because I think it's a personal benefit. It'd be like me saying I want to take a heavy-duty mechanics or a grader operator course, so I know how I can discuss grader operating with public
Okay, I just want to stop you for a minute here. It actually should say the council approves the registration in the local government course with Dalhousie University for Council Drover for April of 2019. It is law and ethics course, along with finance. It is a good thing for him to take this course because we do need counselors that do have ethics. We have ethics. And I think it's very, very important that we do have somebody that can do that and have that course. No, you can't.
Okay, I'm opposed to it because I think it's a personal benefit.
And I agree with you, Barb. Because I think that if council wants to take courses, it's coming out of your administration rate, your administration budget.
it,
So we'll have to increase that to cover all the administration.
not necessarily, Catherine. We haven't used the entire balance of that GL for some time, so there's a little bit that's carried forward. I did go out to staff and ask about desired courses and stuff this year, knowing that this was coming down the pipeline, and it looks like we might use the full balance of it here this year if Councillor Drover,
It would cost no more than him to go to,
I'd like to respond, but I think
Yeah.
Josh should.
Is it 985 a course or is it 985 for the full, for all the courses?
Yeah,
I do believe it is per course.
the initial registration fee is a one-time fee, and then it's $9.85 per course times 6 courses in order to complete the certificate.
Little certificate. But if I may,
yes.
thank you.
Yes, you must.
So the motion that is being referred to is that council approves the registration in the local finance course for Councillor Drover. That's what's written on your package.
Yeah.
So the concern that work-related knowledge, which could be used to further oneself personally, should not be paid for by the administration. So, I am a Canadian registered safety professional. These are skills, attributes, and a professional designation made possible through my current employer. Now, on February the 6th, it was moved and seconded that Councillor Drover would work with the CAO on safety policies going forward. Nobody then had any difficulty in having my work-related knowledge and experience used for the benefit of someone other than my employer. Now, a question. Whoever has attended a first aid class, has that first aid class been paid for by your employer?
No.
Have you ever used those skills either at home or in the public? Those are skills that you have learned at the workforce and applied personally. So this kind of behavior is actually celebrated, that you have the skills to be able to use to benefit others. Now, it is stated on that,
Can I stop you for a minute, Ken?
Yeah.
So if I hired you as a safety man, how much is it an hour?
I would go per contract,
So if I hired you to work with Chris,
yeah,
to work within the village, to do the safety audits and stuff, how much would that cost?
$1,000 a day.
There you go.
$1,000 a day plus GST. Okay.
Don't forget the PST.
Councillor Drover wishes to increase his knowledge in municipal governance matters. Councillor Drover expressed an interest in the law and ethics program. This is one step in the law and ethics program. So the concern that Councillor Drover will be using village assets, financing, for personal gain. My response, I am guilty. Guilty on 6 counts. Number 1, I am guilty for receiving financial recompense for sitting on this council. Number 2, I am guilty for receiving medical and dental benefits from sitting on this council. Personal gain. I am guilty for not being able to participate in events outside of the community.
Why?
Work-related reasons. I do not get paid time off, and I can't afford to take time off without pay.
Vacation?
My vacation.
Sorry,
Last week or last year, I had 2 weeks of vacation. 1 week was to bury my mother, and the second week was to spread her ashes. That was my vacation.
They only give you 2 weeks a year?
For the length of
I
time?
can take 3 weeks, and that's going to Newfoundland to do that. Okay, I'll continue. So, I don't go to Fort St. John, Tumbler Ridge, Prince George, Vancouver, Quebec City, Whistler. That's not me. Guilty for not accumulating expenses that others may incur resulting from these trips. Travel, hotel, meals, gas, whatever. I am guilty for wanting to improve my education and knowledge regarding municipal matters. That's something we all do when we attend these courses, to improve our knowledge about municipal matters. And finally, I am guilty for having chosen law and ethics as a topic of study. So I think that's something that all of us should be aware of, municipal law and how to compose ourselves in public.
Oh, I can never compose
Okay.
myself, you know that.
Now, there is money in the budget for the education of village employees and staff. To exclude counselors from participating in educational opportunities would on the surface seem to be at least discriminatory, at least. Now, as this correspondence course is the only suitable means for me to further my knowledge. To deny this would set a poor precedence for other members of this council who may wish to go and further their knowledge. This course was recommended by the CAO of the village. Now, there was a fair and a reasonable question asked, and I thank Barb for that question. Discussion is great. I hope I have succeeded in providing a rational explanation for why I would like to proceed with this course of study. I see no conflict of interest, and I see no reason to deny this request. It's up to you.
All right.
My rebuttal is, I use my holidays in order to travel and do that. That's my choice, as it is yours. And I think it's a personal advantageous. I'm opposed to it because I think that's why we hire our staff on who they are, to have this knowledge. That's why we pay them, our staff, to have that knowledge. So that's my,
Chris, do you have any comments on this?
No, other than to say, your worship, I've been very happy with the two certificates I took from Dalhousie, and like I say in the report, when Councillor Drover approached me about options, those were the first ones I've recommended. They're
It's a little certificate, not a big certificate.
little certificate, big.
It should be.
Hold it up. Donna, do you have anything to say?
I do.
Money.
I agree with Barb that I think it's precedent setting, which you agreed to. We are voted in and we are representing the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we do pay money for our CAOs, our people in the office, to be able to tell us where we stand as council members. I think that the township would be very disappointed in us if we said, yes, we'll allow council to go out and get an education.
On municipal affairs? I think 3 years ago, or was it 3.5 years ago? How long have I been here? But anyway, since 2016, I've been mayor. Now, if somebody on council previous had what he had, is taking for a course, we wouldn't have been in that situation, and I wouldn't be sitting in this chair. Or
I disagree with that statement.
disagree all you want. Huh?
Chris had those courses.
But she's talking about previous.
Yeah, I know.
previous.
Yes.
My problem is the cost.
Yeah,
I'm not against you
Yeah.
taking the courses, I'm against the cost.
So
So you would
it's,
take the courses all at once, all 4 times?
you don't have to. You take them one a year.
So the 1,200 would be for good for however long you wanted to take it for. It
The,
would be,
I
pay
would
it
want to
every year.
continue, but you could do a course a year.
no, but I mean, like the $1,200.
Chris?
Is a set fee, it's not going to change, like if he doesn't do the first, all the courses within like 2 years, you're not going to have to pay the 1,200 again?
Good question. The 12 actually goes down. The 1,200 is for the course plus the initial registration fee. Once that registration fee is paid and the student is in the system with Dalhousie, the courses are only $985. Then after that, you don't have to pay the registration fee again.
Okay.
And it's designed as a 2-year program to take one course every 3 months with a break in the summer. But you can do them. I did my first one, 9 months. I did 2 courses per semester. So
They're quite extensive.
they're and Sandy's doing them right now too. So,
Alright.
You can take up to 10 years to do the course.
Is it 10?
Yeah, you've got 10 years to complete the
Yeah.
program.
Are they quite extensive, the courses?
I'm doing municipal law right now. It's interesting. They're good. I quite like them.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
not.
Because when I was on before, I read some of the stuff on that.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah. I was just, the cost is just what bothers me. I'm not against you going.
Oh,
It's just
no.
the cost.
So, can you take a course a year?
That's right.
Can you take a course a year?
Yes.
Would you girls agree with that? You took a course of you? No? I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
Well, I agree that he can take it a year.
No, I'm okay with it.
So.
Two
I guess
against
it's
two.
against two. And you can't break the tie. I'm sorry. Okay.
Your worship, Councillor Jober can,
Oh, he can break
Yes.
the tie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, then it's 3 against 2.
Yeah.
So, and you guys want duly noted that?
Yes,
And
I
I
want
want
it
to take
duly
that
noted.
course.
Yes.
And I want it that he does take that course. Because Chris isn't always gonna be around, or Sandy, and if the 4 of us or 5 of us are at the thing, there's always laws. He might have to rein me in.
You might have to text you.
If he's at something with us, right, he can.
Yeah, but he said he can't go.
He's not going to be going.
Please use show hands.
Opposed? No, I mean, sorry.
Unopposed.
Opposed.
Put your hand up.
Get your hand out. I don't know what I want.
there's mine.
There's one.
Being a female.
Sorry.
Alistair,
Okay.
edit that part out.
8.2. Can I get someone to read that?
Recommendation, the council discuss the recent events surrounding outdoor burning and ventilation index.
Can I get a second? It. Discussion. I just have one thing to say here before we get going. The new leaseholder on the new ag land came in and asked for a permit. Just trying to clean up the property because the people adjacent to it wrote a letter to us in roughly 2017 asking that we cleaned it up. The village has tried to get a hold of the owner and it didn't happen. We could not reach this guy. So this guy pulls up into the village office, asks to do a burning permit. We provided it. He could have went up there and set those bales on fire. The fire department could have been called. The taxpayers would have had to spend the money to have those bales put out. But he did the citizen thing to do and come in and do the proper channels. So then we ended up with a Facebook page. I think more than 50 people griping and complaining. First of all, one person copied it from the village website, knew that the index was an issue within the village, could have contacted the village to let us know instead of going on the website or going on what's happening in Pooskoopie and venting and allowing the rest of the village to get irate.
Some of them weren't even residents.
And some of them weren't even residents. So now this gentleman has had his Miranda rights read, which is criminal. He is being investigated because this person that called the conservation office did not even bother to call the village office to see why or what or why we did it. And this just pisses me off because it does not welcome new residents in Pooskoopie. So, anybody else have anything to say?
I think you said.
It just totally makes me mad. They could have called us before this gentleman had his
Yeah, but
rights
there's some
read.
people that don't.
I have a couple of questions. The person that called the
We don't know.
officers, we don't know who it is.
No.
I'd like to know if it was a resident or just a nosy outsider.
Well, there was one on what's happening that said she was gonna call the village the next day and also phone the conservation office. She did not call the village office, so I'm just thinking she just went ahead and called. So,
From what I've heard, there was quite a lot of smoke even extending into Dawson. It was very thick and it was pretty rancid. So citizens of our community did have a right to voice their displeasure.
Yes.
Now, what
Voice
happened
didn't.
here was we kind of dropped the ball, and it was a learning experience for us. The individual who had the permit didn't have all the knowledge they needed to do what they wanted to do. So, you know, it happened, it's done, but let's learn from it. Okay? And the next time there's an issue with regards to a burning permit, let's make sure that we talk about the ventilation index.
This is a criminal. This guy's gonna have this on his record because he
He
burned
hasn't
his
been
hay.
charged.
No, but
He was read his Miranda rights.
right, which
Yeah.
is wrong.
Yeah. You're,
That's wrong.
yeah, that's something else.
I know.
Those bales could have been lit in the summer. He could have lit those bales in the summer and had the hillside lit on fire.
Is there, also, I have some concerns now because of the smoke now that we're aware of the index, that we're not gonna be able to have our light up barbecue here if it's, the indexes shows that we can't have a bonfire, well, you know what I mean? Fire permits for the summer, fire pits in the back. I would like to have something drafted up and put on the village page. Yes, we acknowledge that we had lack of knowledge about the index, but would residents, when they have a concern, contact the village office? Now that we are informed about the index, we're now going to have to look at bonfires in the backyard, our community functions when a fire is going.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't apply to camp. Sorry. I'm right.
So when we get a burning permit from the village of Puscoopi and we call the number and just to make sure that we can have our fire, they will not tell us about the index?
No,
So if a neighbor decides that they don't like the smoke, they call and, so really these burning permits are kind of like
Exactly.
out the window.
So a year ago, Marlene, we did away with calling Dawson. You don't call anymore
Oh, okay.
because Dawson doesn't want to know.
Okay,
When I went online to investigate the ventilation index, it looks like it's been out there since 2000, but nobody was aware of it. Blair wasn't aware of it. We weren't aware of it.
oh, isn't that handy?
Yes.
Okay.
but an ex-counselor's wife was, who posted on what's happening off of our website.
Right.
I was aware of the ventilation index. We worked with it, we were working with it over here where we were burning some brush piles for
They're still burning.
an oil and gas company. Then they had to be put out because of the index changed, and they were lit up again as the index allowed it.
So that's something that we need to have in our burning is the size of the fire, right? And then more info on weather conditions, because it just says, and it's not explicit, if somebody could read it the wrong way. And I also think we need to find ourselves if there's damages or charges. We need to
There's-
find them.
10th, I think the bylaw said, what was it, Chris?
The bylaw and the permit, your worship, put the onus on the permit holder. You know, especially since some of these permits are issued for an entire year, we
Yeah.
can't really dictate or, you know, supervise every fire permit holder. When we looked into this and started digging a little deeper, that line up top, so where it says bylaw 967, part 5, section 28, section G or H on that does mention the ventilation index, but it's literally one line in the entire bylaw. It's something that we hadn't seen, so, and then it does, you know, towards the end also state that the applicant is liable for any issues that bubble up. It does bring up an interesting issue though, because as Sandy was saying, this ventilation index is quite the piece of legislation, and it does speak to campfires, whereas the fire index that we were previously following for allowing people to burn was about the risk of the fire escaping. This speaks solely to smoke. So essentially, in our take of it at this stage of the burning index is even if the fire department is right beside this fire supervising it, if it's creating smoke on a no smoke day, it's not permitted. So to Councillor Smith's point, we might be in an issue now that this piece of legislation has been brought to our attention, because it does say no campfires. It also speaks to, or no campfires on no burning days. It also speaks to burning yard waste if there's a compost pile available. So now we're in a situation where the residents that like to burn leaves and their grass clippings and stuff can't do that. It's against the language in the index. So it's kind of, now that it's been
And the fine can be up to, what did it say?
200,000 in the act.
So we're making common criminals out of just every ordinary person that's out there.
We're not.
A guy that was just trying
No, I
to
know what you
clean
mean,
up
but
his
I
property.
mean, that's a government thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that guy could get
grab.
a $200,000 fine.
Yeah,
That's
but
absolutely
we
sad.
don't give them a copy of the bylaw when we give them the burning permit, don't we?
No.
So I think that the burning permit needs to be a little bit more explicit.
But maybe why are we issuing a burning permit? I could do it for a year, and then a month down the way, I have a fire pit in my backyard, and my neighbor calls and says the smoke
It's bothering them.
is bothering them, and I'm liable. Well, I got my permit, no.
Chris,
One really interesting piece of the ventilation index is it requires that any wood burnt in a fire be aged at least 6 months. So how does the village enforce that? And to your point, Councilor Smith, a couple of wet logs, the neighbor complains, we've now got another resident that's got the conservation officers reading them the rights because the smoke's going into the backyard.
did you not have a resident come in today? And you had to tell them?
Yep, we, knowing that this was coming up on the agenda, we had a gentleman come in today looking for a burning permit to start burning some yard waste, and we declined to issue it to him until we knew what council's wishes were with respect to this.
Ken?
Deer in the headlight. Geez, I had a great talk, but it's gone.
I don't think we should even issue these permits now. I'm so, mad about that.
Yeah, but that, sorry.
Barb?
Well, for one, do we know what the city does? Do they issue burning permits?
They do, they have similar language in theirs that references the index and stuff, but in discussion with the fire chief, there are a number of communities that are starting to actually just outright prohibit backyard fires for
I agree.
reasons, including this too. Even last summer, last spring, we had 3 backyard fires that ended up getting out of control that the fire department had to come and put out from residents that felt, well, they knew better than the fire index. And how, I'm gonna have a backyard fire if I want to, and it doesn't matter. And I think that becomes the issue. Like this gentleman, he was very well dressed, well-to-do, seemed like an educated guy, thought he was doing a good thing, and in fact was. We'd asked the owner to clean up this property a year ago, so he came in with fully good intentions, and now this has really gone sideways on him. To your point, Councilor Hebert, is this going to start making criminals out of residents just trying to have a backyard campfire if the neighbor disagrees with it?
But Chris, you also have to state the fact is that he tried to move those bales.
Yeah.
They fell apart.
They fell apart.
His only option was to burn them.
Only reasonable option for sure.
Who had their hand up first? Don?
No, go ahead.
Barb?
So if we do not issue burning permits, what is our bylaw officer gonna do when he sees a fire pit 9 o'clock in the community? Like, we've gotta decide if we're not gonna issue fire permits, are we gonna ban all backyard fires?
No.
I mean, we can't really say that we're going to.
I think we should ban it right now until we revisit the bylaw. Revisit the bylaw and see exactly what it says. Okay?
Because they're just gonna have fires whether
Exactly.
Fines though.
Yeah. I think that as we represent the citizens of our community, that we should step up to the plate and we should write a letter to the conservation office in support
Of that
Yes.
person, yes, I fully agree.
Did I not say that, John?
Did you say that?
I said that to him in his office. I said, I think they overstepped their bounds by giving them this miranda rights. I think someone was a little zealous, and maybe we should be phoning them. But Chris suggested I should maybe talk to the RCMP about that first, before we go ahead and write the letter.
And I wouldn't go after them with the same tone of voice that you're going after the law firm.
No.
That'd be really nice.
I'll let Chris handle that one. I'll let Chris handle that.
Because I said, did you want to call or do you want me to call?
No, well, let Chris do that one.
So what are we gonna do?
So I think we should, or Dawn.
We're not gonna stop anybody.
Don't.
I mean, I was on the fire department for 20 years, so I know all of the stupid things that people have done in this village.
That's for my neighbor.
To start fires, just.
Chris,
Yeah, thank you, Worship. The real strategic intent of the permits and the whole burning process is that the village is made aware of the homeowner's intent to do some burning. And at the end of the day, I won't say it absolves them of liability, but it shields them from some liability if the fire gets out of control, because they've come in and legitimately asked for permission to do that. So to speak to Councillor White's comments, if people start backyard campfires without a burning permit, and it gets out of control, the village has the authority under bylaw 967 to levy the entire fire suppression cost against that. We had, and one of those people last year, one of the three didn't have a burning permit, and our was part of council's discussion, but the discussion was send them a really nasty letter and say, don't do this again, because we were literally this close to levying $10,000 of fire suppression costs on them.
Ken, you had your hand up for Dawn. I saw that in the corner of my eye.
The sign said, long-haired freaky people need not apply. Right? So, listen. We're a small community. We're rural, if you will, right? Having a campfire and a weenie roast and a marshmallow roast, it's what we do, right? And I have no intent of supporting any motion that would make our citizens criminals of the community by having a weenie roast with their grandkids, right?
But should we check the bylaw first? And maybe revisit the bylaw before we issue any more of these burning permits?
That's a great question.
It also helped the fire department though too as well, when we knew that the people were burning and they did have a burning permit, that they had an idea of what they were going to do and how they were going to go about doing it, so that we didn't have to go to every friggin' call out.
so what do we do with the next smoke that is bothering people? And it's gonna happen. It does happen. They're burning garbage, it's a hot day, my windows are open, and all the stink is coming into my house.
I think the bottom line is, if you're going to be burning piles of wood and piles of grass, right? Okay, so yes, let's check the ventilation index, but what else do we automatically check as well? The wind,
Yes.
right? You're gonna go out in the wind and you're gonna spark up a fire? Well, you know the fire department is coming. So you have to use some common sense here, people.
No.
That's what I
You know what? It's an education process, that's all it is. In addition to issuing this permit, you are responsible to ensuring that it's okay to burn with the ventilation index.
So should we add that to the burning permit?
And,
Bart?
and do we put in there that the logs have to be 6 months old? Like, do we put everything in there in the burning permit?
And that's-
So that,
Yeah,
I
that's where
get-
we start to run into.
Guarantee you that hay was more than 6 months old.
It was.
It was several years old.
Yeah, years old. It was at least
But he
5
didn't
years
need
old.
to start them all at the
And
same
that's,
time.
yeah, that
Or
was,
slow burning.
yeah, I believe that was part of the issue here too. He quite frankly told us there was 7 or 8 piles and okay, no problem. And he went in and lit them all at the same time, which was I think what caused the volume of of the smoke, but we can certainly make some amendments to the burning permit and maybe, making specific reference to the ventilation index and fire index with the website right on there is a good place to start. Can we get into policing, whether or not that backyard campfire has a couple of buckets of leaves or some wet wood?
No.
That's.
I could care
far
less
beyond
if
this
people
thing.
cleaned up their yard and they're burning it. I could care less. Because that means that they're taking care of their yards. That's important. That's what our bylaw states. That's the one we just passed. But this has to change, and I think we need to revisit the bylaw.
You need to add more to it,
Add more to the bylaw.
to the burning permit.
Pardon? I would like to make a motion that we send a letter of support to the gentleman that bought the burning permit. Send a letter to the conservation officers, that we gave him directions and it's sort of the onus is on us. We did not have that information that we didn't pass on to him and show our support. I need a second. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second. I don't know.
All in favor?
I think that's.
So now we're about the burning permit. Anybody wanna make a motion on that?
It needs to be more explicit.
You wanna do a motion on that, Don?
Yeah. I changed my name.
Because my hand's always up. Go ahead.
I'm going to make a motion that we extend the burning permit to make it more explicit in what is needed in order to do this.
And specifically reference the venting index.
Yes. The fire index.
Both.
Oh, venting and fire.
And to put fine, just explicit that there is a fine. Because, like you said, if they don't read the bylaw, they don't know that there's a fine.
Can I have a seconder on that? All in favor? Okay, so now the bylaw. Who wants to make a motion on the bylaw?
Can I make a comment on this permit as well?
Oh, yeah.
People, when was the last time you increased the prices on your yearly permit? $10? $3 for a 3-day permit?
It's been like that forever.
You wanna make a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that council consider increasing the cost of a burning permit.
And do you recommend that they maybe check Dawson burning permits or check around to see how much other burning permits cost?
Yes.
I have a seconder on that one, I'll second. All in favor?
Better look around.
Okay. And did we talk about the bylaw?
We'll bring it,
Should we do the bylaw now?
yeah. Gotta amend
That was
burning
just,
permit.
that's just the permit.
Sorry, yeah, there's no motion.
So we need a
back
motion for the bylaw now, to see if we can revisit the bylaw. Yes.
Your worship, I could maybe suggest on the bylaw that council directs us to bring it up on the next agenda for information to start, and then everybody can have a read and
Okay.
see where we go from there.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Who made the motion?
Chris.
You can't, he can't.
I made the motion.
Ken
Barb
made
made the motion, I seconded it.
Just put a name to words.
That camera's got it all.
8.3.
Recommendation that council approve the letter to Minister Lake in support of the Peace Regional MRI application for certificate of approval.
Before we second that, it's actually Minister Dix. Seconder? Any discussion?
We have to go for approval?
Yes, it was made law that any letters I write had to be approved by council. Because I wrote a letter on village letterhead about the rehab center. I'll second. Any discussion? Mark, thank you for not letting us go. Oh, I don't problem. What I'm saying, this, is important for us to have.
No kidding.
Yes.
And that road from here to Fort St. John is terrible, and we don't know from here to Bradbury what, it's just bad roads. And we have one sitting right in our community, and it's not, we can't use it
Unless you're.
unless you have $800, which,
Or third party billing.
yeah.
So, you guys approve it?
Yep.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, 8.4, recommendation.
The council accepts a new joint use library agreement for discussion.
I give a seconder.
Second.
Discussion. So my first comment is, I would like to see that it says the Board of School Trustees and School District 59, Peace River South, and the village, the Corporation of the Village of Pooskoopi and Pooskoopi Municipality Public Library Board, because they are an entity of the villages. So I would like to see that. And then I'd also like to see an amount that the school has to pay for books. And that is on 6.6.1 library operations, 6.6, 6.61. And then I asked Chris about the 2-year contract for the space, and he said that we would have another, we have a letter describing that we have 2 years. We don't need to be putting that in our contract. Any questions? Barb?
Excellent points, but I think we should pass it back to the library board for them to add, edit, whatever they want, and then it came back for a final here before it goes to back to the school district.
I think the corporation village should be done first, and then I can go to them.
Okay.
Question?
Ken?
Under management, 2.13,
Page,
this is page 20. Under section 2.1.3,
okay.
a management committee shall be formed to attend to the management of this agreement. And then it says 2 representatives from the Pooskoopi Library and 2 representatives from the Board of School District 59. I do not
See
see,
a liaison.
I do not see anyone from the village of Pooskoopi being represented on the management committee.
Good catch, good catch.
It goes to the oversight committee. And that's where we
But
are.
we could be representatives for the Pooskoopi Library because it is a municipal library. We are responsible, if they do not have a board, sorry Lorraine, if they do not have a board, we were having a hard time getting members to sit on the board. So I did research to find out how we could keep our library going, and the one way that we could do it was to make it a municipal library.
Mhm.
So then that way, if we didn't have a board, we would be the library board.
Okay.
That's what the difference
It's a good
is,
idea.
public library, municipal library.
So, do we still put the village of Pooskoopi up here in 2.13?
This management committee is with the library board and the school district 59. That is if they have an issue that they need to discuss, right? Now, if they do not come to an agreement, then it moves down to the oversight committee, who is a member of the school board, member of the library board, member of the village. I think we should leave it personally as it is, because we're sort of stepping in over the library board's territory.
Yep.
So I could be out of line thinking this, but I'm thinking they should sit opposite with the school district and discuss what the issues are with the library. And then if they can't,
But our
Comes-
liaison needs to be there with them.
well, then they pick. two representatives from the library, that's who the board picks, whether it's a liaison or not.
It's just management.
Yeah.
But it's the management of this agreement.
Like, we need to agree on
You know, it's no big thing, I just thought,
Yeah,
well,
the village
Yeah.
should be, I automatically thought that too. But then it's,
the oversight committee is only if there's a problem.
that's right.
Right.
And, but the village is included in that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing now with them using half our library.
Well,
But we have it
Really,
down.
they didn't really have a choice because I held a special meeting. The library got their panties in a twist because I held that meeting. And they really didn't have a choice to say no because the village said we have kids going in and, right? So, I mean, putting us up there is gonna help too. If they realize that we're in there and they can't get their panties in a twist.
I think personally, I think we're overstepping the village on that end of it because, am I wrong,
Yeah, no.
Donna?
No. If they're gonna have a problem, they're gonna come back to us and then we're gonna have to step in.
That's right, and then it comes back to the oversight. And now this gives us the opportunity
To be
to
able to
step up.
step in.
Yeah,
So the only one who's going to identify a problem is not someone who's directly affiliated with the village. If we had someone directly affiliated with the village on the management committee, then they would be the ones to identify problems which would come to the oversight committee.
but we have a liaison on the library board.
You are
And-
absolutely correct.
And they do an excellent job coming back to council to tell us what's going on, at least they should,
Yeah.
which, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm there
Or-
all the time.
You know, so what I'm saying is,
It's
maybe.
redundant,
maybe-
what you're saying
Yeah,
is
it's redundant,
redundant.
and maybe she will be one of the two representatives. I don't know, it's what the library board decides.
I don't have a problem with that. I appreciate the discussion.
I do, because if Donna's not the liaison and we are not council, it could happen exactly like it did before. We never got any information, we never got the minutes, we never got anything.
Touche.
So I would prefer to have the village on there.
As the fifth person, one representative from the village, and then it's a split. It's
Yeah.
5 people for decision making.
Okay.
Because we're not all gonna be here forever, so we need to set precedents.
I'm not gonna be here for forever. I'm the oldest one here.
All in favor?
Who made the motion?
Oh, make a motion to put the village of Pooskoopi in anywhere that I suggested,
And the other 2 edits that you have.
and the other 2 edits that I had. But I think you
What
have
were
those
the other
wrote down.
ones?
Second,
What were the other ones? 'Cause I
And
need
can I
to-
have a seconder?
thank you.
All in favor?
What were the other ones, so I can bring
The
these to?
other were switch the village to second and then add an amount to the books. Might be helpful, council, if you guys maybe chose a number for the amount to the books.
1,500?
1,500.
All agree? All in favor?
It isn't in that.
You think it's so much getting them $1,500?
Wasn't 5,000, it was 5,000?
It was 500.
500, oh, okay, sorry, Chris, 500.
500?
500.
500.
That's what you said, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know, I slipped 1,000 in there, I was just thinking about
That's a lot of them.
my paycheck.
That we never seen.
500 it is.
Chris?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to maybe run by what I think the process could be here now. So I take it these are all council's amendments or desired amendments to it. I'd like to take the agreement as is, type up an email to Mr. Reedman including those, and then push it back to him to discuss that both with School District 59 and the library board as well. And then we'll sit back and wait and see if everybody's okay with that. If they are, they'll send us a final copy and,
So I shouldn't bring it up tomorrow night?
feel free to if you'd
Okay.
like to, Councilor White. It's been discussed in open forum now, so that's.
We have a draft.
Yeah.
Okay, now. Oh,
8.5?
8.5, ECDAV, Mr. Leg.
My turn.
Oh, no.
The council received the attached capital and special project list for discussion.
Can I have a second?
One second.
Which are we
Any
doing?
discussion for the ECDAV? And then we'll go into 8.6. Sorry.
If we
Yeah.
could skip 8.5 and go straight to 8.6 or 7.
Okay, so what are you doing? You're not doing capital and special project,
I'm
you're
gonna
going
do
to
that-
act down
gonna do
first?
ECDAV first. Yeah.
Okay,
And
thank
then 8.6, can I have a seconder? Barb, and, all in favor?
Which
And
one?
discussion, because we're gonna do 5 and 6, he's just gonna roll input, Sandy.
you.
Whatever, whatever the ECDAV one is.
So he's gonna roll into 8, ECDAV, and then he'll roll into the special project. Okay? Got that? Thank you.
Difficulties here.
You had it all up working.
There.
There we
So
go.
this is the regional districts, ECDEV that we did on, January 31st.
ECDEV, economic development.
Development. So, everybody, Lyle, the CFO, had put everybody's amounts in. So, I felt that we didn't need to be doing anything for Fort St. John, because I didn't think that there, Chris, I can't see the writing on there.
Yeah, so I was just expanding it to show council the.
Village approves.
Yeah, that
So if you
we're,
go down to the totals, like Fort St. John, there has a festival plaza and things like that. I didn't think that we needed to purchase up that kind of stuff. Lyle was supposed to give Chris today the whole, new ECDEV thing, because Chris called him and talked to him about the skateboard park, and that was not to be out of there. It was supposed to be taken out of there. So, Chris, do you want to expand on
yeah,
that?
thank you, worship. This was a little bit mysterious to everybody at the start. It's ECDEV projects at the regional district level that are going to be taxed to the residents directly by the regional district on our behalf. So, yeah. So that's a part now, when we submitted this after the previous discussion around council, the hope was that that $100,000 request to the regional district would get split up amongst the partner municipalities. So for example, City of Dawson Creek, regional representatives say, well, yeah, City of Dawson residents, a few of them are likely to use the skate park, will contribute whatever amount. Everybody said no. Aside from Area D, Director Hebert agreed to contribute directly to the project out of his budget, so it didn't show up here. So by having this amount still in that column, what it effectively meant was the regional district, as part of their PRRD levy, was going to tax the residents directly for this $100,000 and then remit it back to us. And so that doesn't make any sense. We've planned to pay for this anyways, and we only collect $330,000 in taxes, so it would have been a huge increase to the to the tax bill. So that one's effectively off at the regional district level. Mayor McKetty's indicated that this one is off now to this $12,000 that we were gonna pay for
Well, I thought everybody would go on.
weather.
So that's the
Yeah,
footage,
Same
a
thing.
weather thing.
Yeah.
South Peace, just to let you know that South Peace Health Council has gone into, the hospital, regional hospital, funds, so that should be coming out of there.
Yeah, the South Peace Business Directory we do use.
Yeah.
Hockey Canada is completely discretionary to you guys for
Pardon?
sure.
Hockey Canada, $100,000, they're gonna tax our residents.
Nope.
No,
What?
no,
Our,
no.
our number is here.
It's $885.
It's only
That's all
what's
we
in the,
put.
yeah.
885, but I'm asking, how does it benefit our residents, this Hockey Canada
because it's our neighboring community.
That was up to you guys
We
to
don't
decide.
care. Because it's our neighboring community and our residents will be going, and it's being held at the Encounter Center. So for $885, I thought, why not?
Yeah, but so they say Dawson Creek and Goose.
No, because it says, if you look across the board now, Crisco, like Area C or Area D there gave $31,000 to that.
Okay, all right.
Area E gave $68,000 to that. We gave $885 to that. Tumbler gave $53.60 to that.
Area D
Chetland
gave
didn't give
31.
anything. Hudson Hope gave money. Go.
Yeah, Taylor.
See, Taylor gave money,
Okay, I see your.
but Fort St. John didn't because Fort St. John didn't.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I say, it was a tricky thing to sort of get conceptually. It's like I say, the regional district requisitioning those amounts directly through their taxation on the tax roll. And then they, either pay these organizations for those things on our behalf, or, in the case of the skate park, it would have been remit the check back to the.
Does that mean the
that's-
regional
that's not
district's
happening.
taxes are gonna go up?
Yes, in essence it does, yeah, because whatever ends up in this column,
Some of
they
those
add,
farmers need to be able to.
they add to the regional district levy on top of whatever they're already going to charge, and I don't know those numbers right now, that's up to them to decide, so. Because we only control that one line on our tax roll, which is the general municipal line.
Barb,
So,
Can you just remind me how much longer we have on the Encounter Center?
I believe it was about 10 years, Councillor?
Left?
2030.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like it's an awful long.
No, it may not have been that long, we
I
looked at
don't
that.
think so.
You brought it to council.
I know.
Yeah, I did,
I
it's
just-
just.
2025?
2025 maybe.
That
Your
sounds
Worship.
like.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
because I thought it was only gonna be for like 15 years.
Because we keep forgetting about that we are paying for it.
But so the Tumbler Ridge Geo Park, we already give money to that Geo Park. That was set up in 2014, 2015, that we already give them money. So then they come back and ask for more money, so I said no.
What's the Minerals North Conference?
It's
That's-
a mining
that's
conference held
mining
in
and that.
Prince George. And I think, so maybe the best way to go through this, folks, is similar like we were gonna do with the capital and special projects plan. Just go through them line by line. If you guys are good with it, we'll keep it in. If not, I'll delete it. I'll save this spreadsheet and I'll fire that off to the regional district first thing tomorrow morning. So let's start with the business directory. Like I say, I'd actually recommend we keep that one because our business licenses, the people that consent, we do send them to the business directory, so. Hockey Canada Council, $885. Yes? Okay.
Are you marking those somehow? 'Cause I don't.
The ones that we don't approve, Cindy, I'll delete them right out of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I've saved this on the desktop here. Minerals North Conference for $355.
I put that as a no.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I put that as a no.
Okay, we will delete that.
And then,
Northeast BC Coal and Energy Forum, $128.
I did energy, I wanted it because of the energy.
Okay. Regional Forestry Feasibility Study.
No.
No idea what that's
We
about.
have, no, that's not supposed to be in there, Chris, that's,
Okay.
that should be out.
And then last but not least, no, sorry, that's just the, some surplus amount. Not too
That's-
sure what that one means, but
That's what we owe, that's what we had left over.
yeah, okay. So then we've got 3 in there right now, folks. Those 3 and that's it.
How
Did
do
we take out the skate park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you come up with a figure of $128, 200?
It's all based on what everybody else pays.
Hey,
But all the other numbers from all the other communities are round numbers.
Go over, Chris. Some didn't even go in there. Some
Oh, I
did.
was looking at project costs.
See the formula, folks? It's a weighted average across So there's probably population weightings and all kinds of stuff in the calculation that says, okay, this is a $10,000 project. Area D is going to spend 10 or 1,000 directly. So the 9,000 then needs to be proportioned across any municipality that says yes, and it all gets converted.
Wonder what BC stats they're using. I just had to throw that out.
Hopefully the new ones. I was going to bring that up in the CAO report.
Well, they all know what the regional district should say 808. That we've grown.
835 now. Yeah, 835. So,
But our fair share says what?
it says 835 this year.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
It was 80. Oh, maybe I better correct them then.
And that was 835 this year, at least the preliminary ones. Anyway, so. Okay, so does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm satisfied. All in favor?
Save. I will minimize that. And that brings us to the point where I'm going to do a whole bunch of talking.
Now he's gonna spend some money.
So, yeah, we've talked about.
Are we gonna put the BC film thing in there?
Oh, right, Kate.
Story Sandy 8.8 BC films needs to go in there.
Yeah.
Can I get a
so
second here?
just to add that to the spreadsheet so we can.
Discussion.
Yeah, we can talk about that maybe at the end, your worship, is that okay?
Pardon?
At the end of the
Yeah.
slideshow?
As long as we.
Alrighty, so agenda for tonight, we're going to look at the financial plan and timeline, review, of course, the list of capital and special projects, and you guys all have the detailed Excel sheet in your agenda. Examine each project in detail, the opportunity for discussion, add and remove projects as directed, and then I take it back and prepare the second draft. So talking about the timeline, 2019, like most years, I've kind of set things up into 5 or 6 meetings, all compartmentalized, so we're focusing on one thing at a time, make sure we can really drill down and have a good informed discussion about that one piece. In the past, the budgets used to just be given to council, here's everything, tell us what you're okay with. It's too much information to deal with in a single meeting, so I've always found that breaking things up into smaller parts yields a much better budget discussion. So, meetings 1 and 2, one being today are for the capital and special projects, February 6th and 20th. What happens in this process is as we have the second meeting for that particular topic, I then overlay what's coming next. So on February 20th, I'll be looking for a motion from council to approve the capital and special projects list, and I'll be layering in the admin and the recreation budgets for initial discussion on the operating side on top of it. Then that'll be meetings 3 and 4, take us into March 6th and 20th, and then meetings 5 and 6, April 6th and April 17th will be the tax rate setting meeting. I've set the whole schedule up to be a full month ahead of the statutory budget deadline of March 15th to give us some wiggle room if we need an extra special meeting.
May?
Yeah, May 15th. What did I say?
March.
Should I say March?
I was like, what? How are we going to be doing it?
We missed the
After the
deadline, yeah.
May
Sorry.
17th, can't wait.
May, yeah. So, brief discussion, capital versus special projects, just so you guys understand why the two. Capital projects are generally those tangible items, so things we can touch, use, see. Examples are equipment, roads, buildings, that type of thing.
Can you look into like our playground equipment, right?
Mhm.
What was the life expectancy of that stuff? Because we built that a long time ago.
Which part?
This park over here.
Oh, yeah, when we first moved in.
Yes.
Okay,
I was out there in the rain putting the screws in.
hold that thought, please, Councilor.
Yeah.
We've got a whole section on
Okay.
park improvements coming up in the
I think we should
presentation. Yeah.
Emailed this copy to everybody to have a look at it first.
Yeah.
No, he just likes to talk. And trust me, it's a long one.
And then, no, it's only an hour.
Uh-huh, we're gonna go past 9 o'clock. We're going past 9 tonight.
Special projects, intangible stuff, meaning we can't feel use them. Yeah, examples of those are studies, consultant costs, plans, that type of thing. So the boundary extension work, for example, that'd be a special project. They may provide long-term benefit through information, but they're often done to address any immediate theoretical need or purpose. So kicking things right off, so these are numbered according to what you guys see in the agenda. The first one is bike path for 50,000. This is an old project from 2015, 2016. We did have a grant for this, but the original project was to put a bike path where Canada Day is now along the ball diamonds, turn it up toward, and then it would tee off with the old railway tracks and end there. And then the previous council, after some discussion, there was a lot of momentum for it because we had a grant, but even though there was some money, we kind of stood back and said, well, where's this bike path going? It's a J to nowhere, so we ended up canceling it. The new proposal now.
And because people would be parking on it.
Yeah, and because people will be parking on it for Canada Day too, so. So the new thoughts now for walking paths and stuff would be around the perimeter of Poos Park, and then also potentially down the length of Elevator Road. Can include picnic tables and benches and that kind of stuff. I'm recommending a compact gravel surface because paving gets very expensive with pathways. It's again slated in 2019, but, and I put this in the first slide, recommending moving it to 2022. As you guys see in your report, we've got 2020, yeah. We've got too many projects to bite off this year. There's 27 in the 2019 column that's
How
not
many did we
achievable.
have last year?
19, and we did 17 to carry forward. The way I like to plan the capital and special projects is all of that stuff is in addition to staff's day-to-day regular job functions. So these are all things that get managed off the side of our desk. We want to make sure we're constantly working towards stuff, but we don't want to front load it so much that we only are able to complete 65 or 70% of the projects because we're biting off more than we can chew. Conversely, if we only do 10 and we wrap them up towards September, well then we're not really working. So I always want to be in that 85 to 95% completion margin to make sure that we're just doing enough to make sure that we stay busy all the time, and usually that's a good completion rate. If we're consistently hitting 100% of the projects complete and done, it means we've probably got the ability to take on a couple more. So,
Ken, you had a question?
Yeah, have we lost access to that grant, or is it still ours to
It was,
use?
yeah, it was deferred. We just have to reapply for it again once we choose a new bike path location. So that might be, the course of action with this is that if council's got a preferred location, we do the grant application and the groundwork for it this year and build in 2020.
I make a motion to do that.
Okay. Sandy,
Can I get a second?
can you keep track of this stuff too?
I'll second. All in favor?
Okay.
That's to reapply for the grant?
So given
And
that
the
too.
study and all that,
Yeah.
all that.
So with that too, we don't have to make a decision on the location tonight. I can bring that back to another meeting. We got time. Relocate the welcome sign. So this was on the 2018 agenda, and it was for build a new welcome sign for 20 grand. You guys had a very detailed discussion about that, about moving it. So we're thinking $5,000 to move it to the new location.
Can we
just
get
for
bigger posts?
concrete footings? Yeah,
Bigger posts, they look like two little piglets. on
that's
it.
actually the sign we're talking about. So.
Yeah, so can we get bigger posts on that? Ken?
So, is this going to be put out to bid?
No, we have the sign, we just have to move it.
Well, we're gonna do this internally.
Yeah. The guys who
But
do it.
village, probably.
Bart?
It might be a little helpful on this list if we could have a column where it's inside. New window coverings and chambers. I imagine we're not gonna hire a contractor to come in and measure our windows. You guys will decide what you want, look at some stuff, it's in-house.
Oh, I see.
And the same with other things that are on here, repaint office. Is it gonna be in-house, is there gonna be contract?
Okay,
Little things like that, then that gives us an idea of the time involved. Because if we have a huge list for our public works to do,
Yeah.
maybe we should break that list down.
okay,
Or if we're gonna,
okay. That, knowing that, Councillor Smith, I'll mention that as we go through them here too, but in the next draft, I'll add that column. So,
Will that help?
yeah.
Getting back to the sign.
Back this time?
I think the ministry was saying that don't they have some kind of,
Specifications.
yeah, for those posts, like it's not, because if somebody goes off the highway out of control and they hit something marvelously big and strong and made out of stone, people will die.
And that's absolutely correct.
Yes.
Part of the issue and the reason why this project has kind of not gained a lot of traction is we don't actually have a permit anywhere to have that sign on Ministry Corridor. So that's one of the things we got to do through the project. So, but yeah, my understanding of that after talking to Shane from the ministry there last year is if it's a steel post or anything concrete, it's got to have an engineered breakaway. If it's
Yeah.
wood, I believe it's okay, but we'll
Yeah.
double check that before. So we've, now that we know that we're moving it, yeah, we gotta send them the design, they've gotta give us a permit to do it, and then, so they'll double check all of those specs and stuff for us.
So can we just do a motion to have those posts a little bigger if it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to have those? And can I have a second? And I'll second it, all in favor?
Okay,
Thank you.
moving on. Poos Park upgrades. I've got 25,000 a year, over 4 years, and these are for things following the site regrading. We've got a blank slate down in Poos Park right now. We did put a couple of garbage bins and some recycling bins down there. We found out those things really aren't cheap either. It was like $6,000 for the garbage bins. But it is
Have to
what
be
it is.
bear-proof?
Yeah,
Type one.
steel, the vinyl coated steel so that they lasted with the weather and stuff, so they're not cheap. But now we're starting to consider improving the amenities at the park, and that can include benches, picnic tables, garbage,
I think that's just so cool.
garbage and recycling bins.
Done, eh?
And you guys are in a really fortunate position because you get to design Poos Park on a blank slate. It's your blank canvas. So
The other thing I asked for, if we're gonna have it as an off-leash dog park, that we have poop bags down there.
Yes.
They're already there.
Got it?
So this would be something that would largely be done in-house. We'd be just ordering the garbage bins and the picnic tables and then having Public Works go down there and do them. These are just some thoughts, folks. Definitely nothing etched in stone by
What about
any
insurance?
means.
Insurance, like keep people playing volleyball till they're all not, you know?
Good question.
Yeah.
The Municipal Insurance Association wraps their arms around us from virtually anything we want to do from a recreation standpoint.
Okay.
So we build it, and I've actually learned with them recently, there's an exclusion for automobile sports. But, and I sent it to you guys in the last CAO report there too. They are covering us for our snowmobile thing without any additional premiums or anything. It had to go up the flagpole a little bit over at MIA, but I got an email basically saying, yep, we talked about it, you're good to go, so let's go racing. Yeah. So,
Do we want to put horseshoe pits back? Are they used?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, those have to be put back.
We had,
Yeah.
we had some really mighty fine horseshoe pits.
okay.
What about our barbecue pit?
For the beef, we can't, they won't. We could put a pin in, but we couldn't use it because Health BC wouldn't.
We were
Grandfathers.
grandfathered in for a long time, but if we
Because
change
of the
the pit, we're not.
A new pit, they won't grant it.
And
It's
that's,
not for health.
way past, way down there.
Yeah.
On the topic of playground equipment too, I've put in there, the one thing to consider is the new engineered plastic or vinyl coated metal playground structures are pricey. So if there's any thought this year of putting another playground structure down at Poos Park, this number has to have a 1 or a 2 in front of it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, so
That one cost $47,000 when we put that one in.
And that was like 20 years ago.
and I would venture to guess if we replace that today,
90,
Councillor White, we're looking at 90
Yeah.
to 100.
It's,
if not
it's gotta be close to 20 years old.
Yeah. So, They're pretty much any playground structure today from those engineered, manufactured, compliant, safety compliant companies is $100,000 plus. So we get correspondence from time to time from those companies that they're offering sales, they're trying to sell off the stuff that they built the previous year, but it's, yeah, 100,000 is a good starting point for that stuff, so,
Let me show you how good it is. 8 people built that.
yeah.
Any money available for that?
Grants.
There is, and there's the interesting thing, that's why I made a note of it down below. The foundation had given us 125,000, give or take, last year specifically earmarked for improvements at Poos Park. So we've got to, of course, account for the expenditures, the money's coming out of our bank account, but these are improvements we can make to the park without having a direct levy on the taxpayers' piece.
There's
So which
also,
foundation?
sorry, Ken, there's also, I think, a grant from Northern Health for, equipment, playground equipment.
Yeah, there's
Health
lots
and-
of recreation grants and stuff out there.
Yeah, there is more now than ever was.
Yeah. What I'd actually recommend to council though, so the foundation gave us money for earmarked specifically for Poos Park an amount, and then the second amount earmarked for the remaining parks, but not the skate park. They were adamant they didn't want to contribute to that particular project. We've got to carry that money on the books and we've got to account for it, you know,
Until
have
it's
it all separated. Personally, I would like to see us use that and use those donations in good faith, get it off the books, spend it for what it was intended for before we go out and seek grants from everybody else out there. And that just keeps things easy from a
So then why
county
didn't you put it at
standpoint.
125,000?
If we could, yeah, yeah, and, oh, you mean it overall,
Like,
your
put the-
worship?
Yeah. put it-
Yeah, I just thought that was a decent point to start the discussion, so.
But over 4 years.
Theoretically,
For
yeah.
years, but we want playground equipment and everything down there before July 1st, do we not?
Yeah, the likelihood of that happening is probably pretty low too,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
What year?
Yeah. 2020, we can do that.
Order it though?
I don't know if I can put
Maybe
the
whatever
equipment
we're
together.
supposed to have for its, what do you call it? Whatever, studies. Can we have a study done, what we're supposed to have down there? Like what we,
There's no standards for that kind of stuff.
Not a big
And
one.
no, and I would recommend to council to, again, this is your blank slate, guys. You have complete control over what happens at that park. There's no standards, there's none of that stuff. So I would think choose an amount here that you're comfortable with, and then in subsequent budget meetings, we can nail down exactly what that ends up looking like and go from there, so.
Or can we get some catalogs for playground equipment, stuff like that? Bring that
that
to
SCM has all that stuff.
We've
Yeah,
got
trade
it,
fair.
we've got it here too.
Well,
We have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it,
go through.
But we can actually talk to the people when we're down there.
well, and with that too, now we're getting, what I'd rather see personally is a dollar value here that council's comfortable with. We'll do the shopping behind the scenes, bring 2 or 3 options that fit within that dollar value back to council, and at least narrow it down for you guys. That way those catalogs are this thick. You know, it's,
I would say put the $125,000 of all the foundation's money
Yeah.
in there. I'll make a motion,
Over 4 years? or
over 4 years? No, yeah, 3 years.
You want that 125 off the books, right?
Yes,
So you could do it in 1 year.
we could do it, yeah.
but that would also be, each one of those would be a project, would they not, Chris?
Nope.
No?
No, we can lump it all in like that. Yeah.
So 2020, we want to put that in? Or
It's gonna be done
2019?
by 2020.
Yeah, we do some this year, and then we take this year to really pick what we want for the playground equipment, map it out, come back and forth with a couple of proposals and plan to have that installed either.
The fall of 2019?
We could do fall, yeah, or spring 2020, because we're at the mercy of the installation folks here on that a little bit too.
Right,
Yeah.
skateboard park 1919.
Poos Park, 2020.
2020,
That would work.
Don,
Yeah.
When we did the installation, we only had a guy come up and tell us, we had to have volunteers to put it together.
Yeah.
you don't get volunteers.
Well, like I said, we only had 8 people show up and we were supposed to have 20 and he couldn't believe that we got the whole park together in a weekend.
He's getting me out there to remove all the plans.
I'd do it.
I'm sure you would.
So
I could supervise.
Sandy, let's change this to 125 then.
Can I get a
in
second?
2020.
A second.
Donna?
Yeah.
All in favor?
125 in 2020,
Yeah, next year. We'll do the planning this year.
so we're leaving 2019 as 25?
Nope.
Moving it to 2020, or 125,000. Putting this as 19, right? You want 125,000 in,
No, we'll do the 125,000 in 2020, your worship.
so this is gonna be gone.
We'll do all the
So we're
planning
gonna
this
do
year.
our walking paths
Yeah.
and Poos Park in 2020.
And that actually,
We're building up our,
We're
We're building the
Yeah.
park,
Yeah.
we're building the park in 2020.
2020, that makes sense?
and
Yeah.
the walking, that's
Yeah,
perfect.
okay.
All in favor?
Mhm.
So,
Skateboard park. Some of you guys, I'm not sure, had seen the final design. This is what we're getting. So a company called Canadian Ramp Company based out of Toronto, and just to give a brief discussion on it, two-part construction process with this, the park itself. All of these ramp structures that you see here are modular. So part of the reason we chose these guys is it was a really cool system that they use. They have precast forms at their warehouse in Toronto. They form all of this so it's nice and smooth and level. As a guy that's been in the skateboarding space for 25 years, the absolute worst thing you can go to is a skate park built by the local concrete guy who got the contract, and it's all lumpy and full of cracks in there.
but Chris guaranteed me that he would not be over there during work hours. Go ahead.
I don't believe him.
Maybe on his lunch hour.
Yeah,
And
so,
then never come back.
And you'll go get him.
yeah, so with that system, what's happening is Canadian Ramp Company's building all of the curvatures and the boxes and stuff at their factory in Toronto. It all comes on a truck. They put it all in place, and then we hire a concrete contractor to do what we're calling the flat work, which is no different than building a concrete slab in a garage or a shop or something like that.
So
So,
does the flat work have to be done first?
nope, it's actually done after, and the reason for that, Councillor White, is we want it to meet up. Skateboards have tiny little wheels.
No, I
A
know.
quarter-inch gap on something will stop you dead in your tracks, and you go flying into one of those ramps at 15 or 20 kilometers an hour, and it hurts. So that, they put the ramps in first, and then they bring the flat work up to it to make sure that the transition is nice. So.
Do you have a question?
Yeah,
Do you care?
yeah. Is this somehow gonna be protected so people don't,
Drive the truck up on it?
yeah.
Well, see, that's what me and Chris had that discussion, and I said, let's do it all in 1 year. Fence, lighting, landscaping, you name it.
So that brings us into this. Now, this number is overestimated. I don't believe it's gonna cost us that to complete it, but I wanted to give a little wiggle room to get it done in case something bubbled up in the construction process. I was originally planning to do 50,000 in 2020 to do the landscaping and the water fountain, and then 40,000 in 2021 to install the lighting and landscaping here.
What's a water
Oh,
fountain?
yeah.
Why water?
Yeah, where'd that come from?
That was part of the, that
What's
was,
Chris's dream?
yeah, well,
Yes, I agree with Chris.
we've got water close by. And water fountains is something that not every skate park has, but it's a nice feature.
Do you have a design of one that you're talking here? Like, are we talking one for kids?
Is that
Are we
one you
talking-
just push in?
Yeah, like a little, like a
Like
water.
a drinking
not a
fountain.
drinking fountain. Yeah, yeah, not
You
a-
have to
not a-
specify.
no, no.
I'm thinking water
It's-
fountain. I'm thinking, yeah. Just like they're down a drinking fountain. They're gonna go skateboarding and they're hot, so they're gonna dip into the fountain. You might want to change that to drinking water fountain.
Yeah, I'll amend that. Yeah.
But I'm with you on, we should do it all at once.
Yes, all at once. Get
Because
around.
why put the lighting in 3 years later?
You know, the kids are all scared in the dark. Isn't that a liability issue kind of thing? Like, I don't know.
So that's definitely feasible. Part of the discussion with urban systems already is we're laying the groundwork for the lighting in the park construction if you guys were okay with the lighting. Sounds like you are, so that's good. We're gonna do all the conduits and then the lightings go up. or the
Does
lights
that
go
make sense?
Yeah.
Like, you got it ripped out, you might as well lay the lighting down,
Yeah.
electrical, what you gotta do,
So
and then do the dirt.
the one procedural hiccup that may raise is that if we plan to do it all in one shot, we're likely looking at delaying the opening.
I'd rather them have lighting
Yeah.
and delay it.
Okay.
And the contractor, well, we can just light a fire under his butt.
I mean, I don't think we have to delay it until, you know, the last light bulb is screwed in, but if we're talking about doing the park, the concrete, the landscaping and all of that, there's no way we can get that done by July 1st. That's for sure. Partly because we've only got purchase commitments for this
Right.
piece of it too.
What do you think?
So,
All in 1 year?
Did we decide if we were putting fence around it or anything?
Yeah. Fence too.
fencing won't be super expensive for that
But
part.
it should be voted in there.
Yeah, we can add it. There's wiggle room in those line items.
So water fountain, which concerns me.
What do we do in the winter though about the drinking water?
We just drain it. There's a fire hydrant at the end of the hockey rink on the street side of it, so we
So
can,
what about the health things about that water fountain?
that would be municipal water coming right out of there, treated. All of our lines are treated municipal water, there's no untreated.
But what about the cleanliness?
Yeah, so we have to keep it clean.
That's something to consider. What I know from skate parks is that a lot of times they start policing themselves to a certain extent. They're often have people at them all the time. When kids who are avid riders of it catch somebody beating the park up, spray painting it, doing something dumb, a lot of times the riders will come along and say, "What do you do?" Vandalism is a part of skate parks though. It's gonna happen, it happens to every single one of them. If we're building the facility, we gotta be prepared to deal with the odd profanity spray painted on one of the ramps at some point. It always happens.
And if I catch a little bugger, I'll turn and tell them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the water fountain, because I think kids would just wreck it. I'm
Okay.
sorry, but.
Yeah.
Art?
I think we should
Okay.
have a water fountain. It's in the middle of nowhere, hot summer, kids dehydrated.
We can-
Sunday, the library isn't open, they can't run to the bathroom and I imagine, are we gonna have a porta potties there?
We got porta potties there and already in the summer.
Then we should have a fountain there just for water. That's,
We don't have to decide that today either, folks. We can, I mean, we're going into a marathon meeting, we can bring that up.
The $40,000. And you guys are all jumping around a common issue, but install the lighting and security cameras. And include security cameras in the park.
Okay. And that, Councillor Grover, is a good point, because there's another slot, you guys see it on your faces. We've got some money for security cameras here potentially this year. We can lump in some at that location for sure. Yeah. Okay, are you guys
No,
comfortable?
but Chris's phone.
Oops. Fortunately, they do. You guys comfortable with those numbers, and we'll shift it all into 2019? I can't guarantee that Urban Systems is gonna tell me this is possible, so if it's something you guys want me to explore, let's
Yeah,
decide
all
that
in
today,
there.
and I'll start having conversations.
All in
They'll-
agreement?
They'll actually be excited about that, I think.
We all agree?
Yep.
And then, like I say, we've already got 10,000 from McKenna on this. We've got 50,000 committed, I believe committed from Area D. Correct me if I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then we've got multiple grant applications outstanding for the park.
The only request I ask, Chris, is that you bring back what you're gonna do for a water fountain.
Yeah.
Bring that back to us.
Yeah.
So, like, before we approve this on the 20th.
Okay.
Can you email
Yeah.
us pictures of the water fountain?
Yeah. for
And
sure.
I think Marlene had something to say about the water fountain.
I just think that it would be, sorry. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And it would be draining it in the winter and making sure that people don't knock it over and bust the line in the middle of the night. We got water.
Or pee in
everywhere.
it,
It's
or-
just-
Ew!
Yeah, oh,
Keep her face.
yes.
It happens.
It just sounds
You
like
get a couple of
problem.
drunk teenagers that I've seen it before.
So that's what my issue is, right? Is
Yeah.
Sterilization of it is the main concern, because I don't want some kid decided to be funny and pee in it, and then some young kid goes over there and takes a drink.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my issue with the water fountain.
On to paving. You'll notice in that
153.
Good question. That, the project that we see on the list, the asset management project, your worship, part of that project was a pavement assessment by Urban Systems. They identified 2 streets in town where the pavement was flagged as not being good. 53rd was one of them. So I just picked that
And
one.
where's 53rd?
Over,
In front of
no,
CRS?
yeah, in front of
Yeah.
the CRS.
And why
next
is
to the
it
woods.
that way?
No.
Do you
no.
think maybe it's heavy equipment and stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And do you
Maybe we
think
should
that
get
if
them
we
to
do
redo
this,
it.
that it's gonna make any bit of difference?
Ordinarily with this, I would have included a picture of the street, but it's covered in snow right now, so I'm just taking Urban Systems at their word.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Yeah.
When we're paving, we want to look at the pipes, the water and sewer pipes under before we pave.
We do that with everyone.
That 53rd Street is one of the newest roads, so I don't think it would have clay. It might have something running across the other way that's clay,
Okay.
but if there's any clay and we're gonna pave that, should
wanna
we not
change.
look at having it changed before we do the paving?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But I don't want 53rd done because
Okay.
the heavy traffic, no. That could be bumpy, whatever, because it's those truck drivers that are creating that issue. I think anything, we should maybe look at
Streets.
47 or some other streets.
What's the other street?
The other one, Urban Systems identified, it was in that same neck of the woods, so maybe 50th.
In
But-
front of the Public Works, I know, by your Google Maps there on this, there's a section in front of Public Works, but again, that's in front of Public Works, that's again, big equipment.
I think it was 51st here that they were talking about, but I can double check that. I know that the top end of 49th here is not in very good shape either.
Which is Marvin's, the first top operating homes is.
Yeah, that's really, there's a lot of settling that's happened there where the natural gas lines are. The pavement itself
And
isn't
sewer
bad.
lines?
Yeah.
And
So,
even in the corner where we are, you have a culvert that is crushed and it's, yeah, you've got a hole.
It's not you, it's not your driveway,
No,
it's your back
It's not,
alley.
no, it's not even, well, that's happening there too, but I mean, it's on the street, it's not in my yard. Yeah. Like, that street was done in the 70s, and I believe that it was, a mayor just made a deal with highways, they were out there paving, and he said,
Mm.
they said, that's leftover pavement. Oh, we'll put it right here. And they did.
yeah,
It was a
yeah.
wonderful thing. It's great,
Yeah.
but that's how things were done, and I think that 50th was done that way too.
Okay,
Yeah, it was just leftover pavement from
okay.
from
So-
highways.
Maybe let's start this by saying, is paving something you guys are interested in doing on one of the streets then?
Well, here.
If not more, yeah.
Here needs to be done, because in front of the post office and stuff, it's, like, you were talking seal coating it again or something.
We did crack seal it and seal
But-
coat it last year. Yeah.
Good morning.
Now, amongst that deal of highways coming in and putting that pavement on, it raised the street,
Mhm.
which lowered the properties, so the road, it distributes all water into the
Yeah.
driveways. It's just a natural flow.
Mm.
And that's when all the problems started happening across the street from us, where they all flooded. Like, why my side of the street doesn't flood, I haven't got a clue, but that side of the street always has, since that pavement's been laid
Yeah,
there.
yeah, okay. Was that spring flooding that road, or was that?
Yeah,
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 okay.
and if there's going to be a flood, we know that it's gonna be across the street, it's not on my side. And I just go, oh, fair.
And we
On my
noticed,
side.
we noticed big improvements in that last year when we started cleaning out the ditches prior to the spring thaw happening. It made a ton of difference in the areas where we did it. We didn't do it for every ditch around town. So if that's an area that's that's running into that, then we can look at that in our ditching piece this spring here too. Because that made a big difference, because, you know.
52nd Street.
I think it
made a
needs to be
difference.
stripped, I think that pavement needs to be stripped, and the bed needs to be brought down so it's kind of level with the houses, because like her nephew's across the way, he's down.
Okay.
It's just water. But the problem with stripping that street down now is that we have sewer lines running underneath that pavement, underneath that street. I don't know if it could, if you can go down any lower.
But we
Without
send the camera
problems.
down, right?
Yeah, so our practice since starting these regular paving projects has been to camera scope everything that's under there to make sure we're not paving over stuff that's about to fail. And that just makes sense, right?
Yeah, but if you have to go down 2 feet
No,
just to
No.
put some pavement on top and build it up
these,
to make it so that it's normal.
so these paving projects aren't what you think about a highway construction, for example.
No,
They're
no.
resurfacing, so
Yes.
the machine comes in and it grinds up the first top 3 inches of
Yes.
existing pavement. They do their thing with it and then they lay it all back
Yes,
down. So it pretty much ends up where it is now for the most part.
yeah.
Although I know when we did 48 there last year, we you know, moved things around and added a little bit to try and make it more level, but yeah.
But it's these recurring problems
That we want.
that you wonder, like, can it ever be fixed, or is this just poo-scoopy? Where your properties are lower than the street, and you know, if you buy on that side that, gee, you did the wrong thing?
There's not much you can do.
No, it's just the way it
In a
is.
case like that, yeah, you know, if you've got properties here and a street in the middle, these folks, there's not much we can do, other than keep the ditches clean as best as possible and make sure the water's flowing when it does come, but,
Yeah. And people were questioning why we dug out the ditches too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, snow insulates, is what they said to me, and by golly, by gosh, they can hardly wait until spring thaw. Because it's going to freeze up those culverts solid. Oh,
We're gonna dig them up.
yeah,
So, at this point, I guess we could say if we're interested in doing paving, 53rd Street's not on the radar here right now. We'll leave the project on it, and then we'll have to figure out where we wanna pave, so.
well, they don't, CRS doesn't, they were using that street a lot, but I've noticed they're coming out the other way now.
Oh, yeah.
They can't go by the school anymore.
They can't go by the school, so then repaving that street might be something that you need to do.
Okay. So we can wait, I mean, spring's coming early enough, the streets will be bare enough to get an idea of the pavement probably within 6 to 8 weeks here. If we're comfortable with paving, that'll be one of our first things, then when the streets are clear, we'll go out, try and find a couple options for you guys and bring them back. If we're gonna pave, we should send the contract out probably by the end of April at the latest there, so.
Donna, what did you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I heard you say something.
I was saying,
What?
this list is 8:45.
Yeah.
We might want to throw a suggestion that we have separate meetings for the budget. When you include this into a
Council meeting.
council meeting, it makes it too long to absorb everything that's, because this is so involved, sorry.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So now, no.
Okay. It shall be so. You guys want me to keep going through them, or do we
Keep going.
Yeah, okay.
Let's get this one done.
Asset management and planning, this one's super straightforward, looking for pre-approval on it, and it's just to finalize all of that mapping stuff I was just talking about. Josh is committed to getting me the final maps by February, and then they'll have to invoice us for that, so there'll be a small,
So we do,
small
you want a
cost.
motion now? So
Uh,
we'll start on it?
Yeah, you know what, if,
So can I have a motion to have Chris start on this?
yeah,
I'll make a motion to
I'll second.
start this asset management plan.
I'll second.
perfect, okay.
All in favor?
Thank you. The beautification, this is, I've lumped it all in the slide here. This might be something we want to defer because we had it from last year too, and they were $5,000 projects as plant trees, you know, do
Benches, but we need
beautification.
more benches downtown and stuff like that.
And we've taken the benches and put them into the park projects, so, you know, those are already being addressed there. It's just, there's not enough definition for us to really say, okay, that's what council wants, and we can go forward and do that. So we could,
What about a big fire pit over there, speaking of a fire pit, on that lot over there?
that was part of it.
Like to have a big town fire pit.
Yeah.
So that when we have special projects or whatever. At least it's right by my house, I can watch. Don, or Barb.
Why do we not maybe get a couple councillors sit down on what is beautification, and make a list, and bring it back to council? Is it benches, is it flower pots, is it flags, is it painting the, you know what I mean? Because what we're doing is, this has been on, but every year, and nothing gets done.
Or at least
And,
the last
you
year,
know,
yeah.
We wanna pretty up our town.
This stems from a report that was done by Sue Kennedy and Community Futures, the beautification of the community. And so I guess it's been little by little, there's been planters and benches, but this is a continuation of that process. Maybe we want to find that paperwork and see where we were and what was recommended and what wasn't, and have a fresh look at that. We've already.
Do you know what year that was?
That was when I was in council.
When was it?
That was when Lyman was mayor.
2012?
No, it would be after 2008.
Oh.
2010 maybe?
And I thought Lyman was mayor when they shut down
2010.
when he shut down the Haven.
That was 2009.
And Peter Coop was on council.
He was after me, and I was 2005.
We can dig that up easy enough, if we've got it on file.
I was on
Yeah,
council.
so he would have been 12.
Yeah.
His
So
last
what
year
was
would have
it
been
called?
12.
It was Community
I've seen it.
Futures and Sue Kennedy.
I've seen it.
Okay.
I've seen it. I just have to go dig it
So,
up
can I have a
again.
motion that Sandy brings that back? Ken, you want to make that motion?
I just did. Yeah. We paid a fortune.
Can I have a second on that? All in favor?
Boundary extension, super straightforward, that's just to carry on the boundary extension work. Urban Systems does apologize that they weren't able to do the meeting in December like we were supposed to, but the lead consultant engineer on this, Katrin Saxby, was recruited by the PRRD to fill a vacancy in their planning department.
So is there another company maybe we should be going to?
No, they'd be the ones, your worship. They do all of the regional stuff, and to try and switch companies at this stage in the process, we'd be starting from scratch all over again, so, yeah.
You need to do that.
Oh, whatever, yeah, I know we do.
They got us over a barrel.
Or whatever we do.
General park upgrades, so this is where we have benches and that type of thing in Harton, Town Hall, and McNabb parks.
So McNabb Parks is where the recreation.
Ball diamonds.
Yeah.
And this is what we're thinking for sort of the picnic tables and little benches and stuff like that. That's vinyl coated metal. They're easy to move. And last year we talked
Are they
about.
bolted down?
Well, I was just gonna say, last year we talked about putting them on concrete pads. When I went and got a quote for that, it was like $12,000 for the concrete pads alone. So we're thinking we could easily move those by Public Works and just leave them, you know, and you can see in
Because
the
somebody will
picture.
pick them up and take them. I mean, somebody at Christmas time last year took the nets out of the skating rink, and we made a big fuss on Facebook, and they brought them back mysteriously showed back up.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately a risk for sure, your worship. I guess the question then becomes, do we spend huge money to bolt them down, or run the risk of having a $1,200 picnic table stolen once every 5 years and we just replace it?
But we're gonna have cameras in that area anyway.
Potentially, if you guys approve that, yeah.
And that, do we own that road? We own that road, so we could actually put gates up if we needed to.
I'd have to double check. I know we have land there and the land around it, the road right away, I'd have to check on the zoning map and see whose property that is.
Well, I know the village paid my dad to build that road. so.
Ah, okay. So yeah, it's likely then that it is ours.
You mean down on Mulberry?
Yeah.
Oh, that's ours.
And then, yeah, so I've got 25 grand a year, so when Sandy and I looked at these, yeah, they were about 12 to 1,500 bucks a piece. And we're thinking of doing 10 of them amongst all the parks, and then that would come from the foundation money. Because the irony of our parks right now is we've got the parks, the playground structures, there's not much benches
Benches.
set.
and no
There's little
places.
benches and stuff, but yeah, so that I think would be a nice addition for families and stuff, so.
Is that blue plaques maybe on the picnic benches that said came from the foundation?
Good.
It's recognition for the,
On the lakes,
Yeah,
right?
wherever.
We don't want them on the top, because they don't want to catch up.
or even rather than on each individual picnic table, we just put a general plaque in each of the parks that say upgrades in 2019 were funded generously by the Pooskoopi Foundation.
As long as it's there, they get some.
Yeah. Okay. We can definitely do that too. So you guys okay with that kind of stuff going on? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Cemetery unmarked graves is carrying on. We found, actually Sandy, can maybe you speak to this one because you spoke to it in the staff meeting today and you got more details on it than I do. We found evidence in the accounting, not the accounting record, sorry.
Well, no, both.
Well,
So
yeah,
Trina-
go
Okay,
ahead.
so after the last meeting, we went and looked to see, because Trina had mentioned that there was markers purchased.
Can I have a motion to, because we're gonna go past 9 o'clock?
So moved.
Who's making the motion?
Fine.
Dennis seconded it. All in favor?
Okay, making sure we're on track here. So back in 2009, 2010, there was a project approved by council that I found in the minutes where they purchased 50 markers to start. Apparently they got a grant. We can't find anything on the grant, but apparently they got a grant. And there was 50 markers purchased initially for about $4,500. And they were purchased from Peace Country Memorials. They got into the project and realized that they needed more markers, so they purchased 20 more in the spring for another $1,500. So it looks like approximately 70 markers were put up there. There was a write-up in the paper. I've seen that, it's in the minutes, where they completed this project. There was a grant for it, they did unmarked graves.
And it was on the annual report.
And it was on their annual report?
On the annual report.
70 graves were unmarked.
That's what I
I
thought too.
think
Your
that's
worship.
kind
That seems like a
of
lot.
crazy.
Yeah.
But, and Trina has the bill, like, she doesn't have a physical bill, but she can find it in AP where she did pay it, so, or it was paid.
Do you have some markers that weren't used, do you not? Or you don't know what?
We don't know what they look like.
We don't
or-
anything. Yeah, because we've been up at the cemetery.
What? Those round ones, we were trying to figure out where those came from. They were like round like this, and they were black. And we're.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking
Why
about.
would they put a headstone and they put those up there? Well, that's what the village would have done.
Okay, but I don't see many of those around anymore in the cemetery. So is that, those markers not sustainable, or are they?
Maybe. Barbara tried looking for, sorry, Counselor Smith, I tried looking for as much detail as I could. I couldn't find anything,
Because I
other
did,
than what's in the minutes.
Well, we don't know until the spring.
I did tell Chris that we could go over, probably Marlene and myself and,
Alistair and I.
and what's her face?
Carolyn.
Carolyn.
Oh,
Sorry, and go to the center, because you were available on a Saturday, probably Carolyn too. Walk around with a plan and see who we recognize, what's marked, what isn't, and kind of bring it back. Because between the three of us, we go back quite a year or
Quite a
two.
ways, but I mean, it's not simple to go up there and I've wandered
Well, there is a
around up
map,
there.
there is a
Yeah.
map. Chris has
Yeah,
the
there's
map
a-
in the regional
there's a
district
map.
now.
And we got it from the regional district. We've been asking for a little bit and they, unfortunately, they got back to them. They got back to us, but they got back to us like 2 weeks before the first snowfall hit. We weren't able to go up there and
Oh,
and do
okay.
the physical walkthrough. So we've got a great big detailed map with the plot numbers and
And
there's.
Alistair's been working at it, updating it, he's
Yeah.
going through all the books and.
Yeah.
Can we get a copy of that when it's all done and actually have it stapled, put it
There's a little
laminated?
thing up there that,
Yeah, that's what I mean, there's on that little roofy thing,
Mhm.
have it laminated and then put up there.
Yeah,
maybe
we
the roofy thing redone.
We
so
can
it
do
looks
this
nice.
as a part of that, part of this project here too, so, yeah.
The roofy thing.
So I think
I'll
it
put
kind
the roofy thing needs to be repaired.
The roof on it. I was trying to remember what it was.
I can see the article in the
Thing.
paper now, eh? Village of Spruce Council approves roofing the cemetery.
And we also got cemetery last fall, but before the foundation folded up, they put in 2 new benches in there.
Yeah.
So that's, you know,
So I think if you guys are okay with us carrying on this project, then approve the dollars, and then as soon as the snow melts, yeah, we can go
All
up
in
there
favor.
and start taking a look, see what we need. And if it turns out we don't need anything, then we've got $5,000 to fix the display board and.
So everything so far, we all in favor for.
Okay. Roofing board.
Remember, bulletin board.
The mayor called it the roofie.
I was trying to say.
Just wait till Alistair reads this. It's gonna be chuckling up there.
Are we gonna need a drug-free zone?
Roofie thing. Oh my God, you guys.
It's bedtime.
50 grand for street light updates, and this would be to switch to LEDs, and I've got this straddled across a few years, so it's a compound project. Switch to LEDs, and then Mayor McKenny's mentioned there's a few areas in town that don't have street lights or
Yes.
need additional ones.
Yes.
So this would definitely be one of those projects that we'd be farming out to a contractor. And we could possibly partner with Hydro BC to fund some of the costs. And again, I'd recommend going to an RFP if council, or if, public consultation process on it too. Reason being, that gives you an idea of what the LED streetlights do to a roadway. And we can see, large shadows here, for example, all the way across. I mean, the LEDs provide a ton more light.
And they're cheaper.
And they're cheaper on the electricity costs. We talked about that, figured that'd come up, so we talked about it at the staff meeting today. We're spending about $2,000 a month on electricity rates.
Oh.
So our total savings isn't gonna be huge from doing this. We'd maybe be looking at a few $100s a month. So we've kinda got to weigh
I bet you
that.
it's more than.
Well, and the number we talked about in Tumbler Ridge when we went to LEDs was 30%, if memory serves me correctly. So
But over time though.
the break-even point was like 10 years down the road to cover the cost.
That's great though.
Yeah, good point, Councilor.
Yeah, and
But we were talking 49 then.
The,
You will have to.
and I can speak from experience, and this was just to sort of confirm that, I did a Google search, and this is an article from Waterloo, so, southern Ontario, where a local resident basically says, I hate the darn things. They're too bright, and I can speak from experience, when we did them in Tumbler, within a week of them going in, we probably had close to a dozen complaints from residents. Just when I change the street light, I close my blinds, my living room's lit up like a Christmas tree all day long, I can't sleep. When I'm driving at night and I look into one of them, I'm blind for 10 seconds, I can't see. So what appears to be a good project on the surface does have some community
The
pushback.
break is up the road.
It does.
Then you got thieves, and then you catch the thieves.
but if you can't sleep, you're gonna be really grumpy.
get blinds.
Then you can't shoot them.
I have blinds and we have to yell.
You can shoot some.
Yeah, I would rather,
And the folks were literally saying in Tumblr that the lights were so bright, if you had one outside your front yard, it was coming right through the blinds, unless it was, completely sealed. They're super bright.
Don't put LED lights 52nd Avenue in front of CRS.
Yeah.
Because they are not the lights, and it's on all the time and it shines right in my bed.
yeah.
And it's
And
in
that's,
summer,
that's
yes.
something to consider with this project, council, and that's why I was saying that we go out to a public consultation on it to see if it's something the public's interested in.
Live on
doing.
water. What did you say?
Maybe for the village square.
Do we want to spend $150,000 to save a couple of $100 a month?
No, we need lights though.
In some of the different places, we
Yes,
have
we need
lights,
actual
we need
lighting,
lights.
and like Dokesville up around to Hardin Park is no lighting.
Yeah.
So, we need the lighting. On 49th, there's no, 49th Street, there's no lighting.
But we can put lighting in, but it doesn't have to be LED.
Well, we get started there.
I think that's what it is now, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure. This is, I'm not an electricity guy, it's something that we definitely have to farm out to see.
And I'd like the
what we
wood
need
poles
where.
changed to metal.
How did you address the concerns of the residents of Tumblr?
It was pretty much, sorry, too late, they're in, you're just gonna have to get better blinds for your windows. Because it was done, the decision had been made at that point.
If we opened a sign business of selling blinds,
Hey, it'll pay for the ones that want to hear.
We can repurpose them.
Right.
I recommend that we do the lighting.
In what capacity, your worship? Change, like switch incandescent to LEDs, or that we're just looking at streetlights in the
We can
zones
do the
areas that don't have them?
LED in Town Square,
So,
like Town Square,
okay.
in front of Public Works,
Skating rinks.
skating rink,
Skateboard
any
park.
assets that the village owns, like the Public Works, the
Okay.
I wouldn't do the LED lighting around the village.
Okay.
I would recommend that we put the lighting in that needs to be put in.
So then not residential zones and.
Unless we put it out to the public and say, hey, you know what, this is your option. If you want LED or if you don't.
Mhm.
Council's reconsidering,
Mhm.
right?
And I think, my recommendation would still be that too, because this is one of those, unlike a paving where we can see that the street's deteriorated, it needs to be fixed. This, we're taking a perfectly good working street lamp and saying, well, we're gonna switch it to this for maybe some electricity
broken.
savings, but,
Yeah.
you
They don't
know.
want blind,
Yeah.
but even like in front of the Harbor Hotel, it's dark there, like that whole street is dark. Right?
So would I be safe to say then that we switch the upgrade project to an actual build to a lighting, we do a lighting study, we get somebody in that understands lighting and lumens and how they all work and fit together and have them,
There's probably somebody at BC Hydro that does that.
yeah, I would imagine there's somebody that's in that space.
Why waste the dollars for that? Just do in front of the skateboard park, in front of Public Works and Town Square. And put it out to the public and ask them if they want LED lights. Do they want their street lights changed to LED? If they don't, then we don't do them.
No.
Try the LED in village property
Yeah.
for a while and see how Main Street, if Main Street shines way up to Marlene's, then we know. You know what I mean?
Well, it's gonna be closer to Burroughs.
Yeah, the rains.
Oh, you won't see, my house would be dark.
And she seems on the other side of the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can make the first year piece of it to do those village properties and then the community consultation at the same time about the additional lighting.
yeah.
Okay?
So, girls, just because we've been here since 7 o'clock, you guys should maybe start your vehicles because it's really, really cold out there. It was cold when I walked up.
Minus 28 when I got
Did you
here.
just say girls? Oh.
And you too, Ken. Sorry, sir.
I don't even know.
Chris?
You really think we're gonna be done in
Mine's-
half an
mine's
hour?
plugged in.
No, but it's still, still warm.
Yeah, I think we'll get through this in half an hour.
That, maybe this, but we still got the rest of the meeting to go.
That's just info.
No, it's not.
Done.
Okay, we'll power through. Sidewalks to the elementary school, this was something that the previous council thought was a really good thing. Urban Systems was asked to start the study piece of it at the tail end of last year. This was one of those 2 carryover projects. 2 options we discussed were these great things, which at the end of the day, everybody decided against because of
Why was that again?
the safety aspects of it.
You wear heels or something?
No, I just thought, because he
Yeah.
covered the ditches with it.
Yeah,
Like
so,
the ditch in front of my house that goes to China, I'd like that in front of my house.
Yeah, and that was it, exactly what Donna said, was high heels, people falling down on them and having their fingers go through them and stuff, so it's out there, but there's a lot of talk online about some safety issues with those. That's of course is
Back to ugly old man.
standard sidewalk, and this is where we're hoping to go. So that's Redwood's Corner, and then 51st here in front of Cookies. So the thought is to go all the way down there to our crosswalk over in front of the elementary school.
So, but we'll have a driveway for Cookies, right?
Yeah, this will
Somebody
be one of those
potentially
down,
drives.
yeah, that'll be the formed concrete to get them in there. Really what we need, and you see where this sidewalk is right tight to the street, so we need Urban Systems to say, if we build this, do we have enough right of way here? Where does the ditch go?
Right.
Because if you go this way, we've got the sidewalk inset with the ditch in front of it, and that's not possible down on this side. So we might want to build this, we might not be able to accommodate the
There's always
sidewalk
water
and
main,
the ditch.
right where all that dirt and mud and everything is, Chris, there's always water
Yeah.
main there in the spring, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, there's enough space here if we use this guy's fence, it's kind of a gauge, but even that phone pole is pretty close. So really, it's, somebody with some engineering credentials has to tell us whether or not this is even possible.
Feasible.
So, yeah. So it's 10,000 this year just to get that work done. It shouldn't be super
Well, they're
expensive.
doing the feasible study, aren't they?
They were asked, because the 10,000 was in last year's budget, I'd asked them at the tail end of last year to get it done. But we got Josh working on several projects for us right now, so. Upgrade the commercial water meters, super straightforward. We got about 7 to 10 old analog digital water meters that aren't upgraded to the new ones, so we'd like to get those done. No reason they shouldn't be. Then the PRRD water fill station. So possibly the current, this is maybe for the benefit of the new folks, Mary McKinney's been discussing with Director Hebert for some time now about putting a bulk water fill station somewhere in Bruce to help the residents of sort of Tom's Lake Way and save them 25, 30, 40 kilometers of driving depending on where they're going. Because right now they gotta go all the way through town into Dawson Creek to the nearest water fill station, so. We've talked about a couple of different areas. They all didn't work. The most recent one now is the compost area, right near Public Works. And then the village's contribution to the project could be something along the lines of the lease of the land for $1 for long-term use. The idea of a sandy dump for travel trailers also came up in one of the most recent discussions, that if we were gonna build a water fill station, because that piece of property happens to be the tail edge of the lagoon property, you could put a sandy dump there as well for folks in town that have travel trailers and stuff like that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We've been working on one Leonard Road.
Yeah,
since
this is-
2016, and we've been trying to find the land. We thought we'd have it up on the hill, but then we thought, well, all the water on the tanks, well, that'll just make that road icy because it was close to the water tower.
Yeah.
So then that didn't work, and then we thought we're down here and the government
Yeah.
won't give up that land, so.
The first spot was down there, and then we talked about here, and we were worried about the safety aspect with people with the big trailers coming downhill with all this water and
Yeah.
that. This, if we were gonna charge forward with it, seems to meet all the criteria. It's our land, we can prove it. We've got water right down there, obviously already to the public works site. The road's good. It doesn't cause these trailers and these folks to come through any residential areas. They're coming through an industrial spot already. The road's good all the way down. Seems to fit all of the criteria.
But where do we do with our garbage stuff? Where's that gonna go?
That compost pile?
Yeah.
We can move that to wherever. We could relocate it down here and off of there's definitely spots we could move it. We could even have the water fill station and then push the compost area a little further into the Lagoon property. We own all of this. It's all ours, so.
Does the compost get used?
It actually gets used fairly often, so we got a key system, so we've got 2 keys for the gate on the big rabbit, or the really goofy keychain.
Big pom-pom.
Yeah, big
Come on.
pom-pom there, so that, so if
They
somebody
won't
wants to
be
use
trying
it,
to take them
has
away.
to come in, get the keys, tell us what they want to dump there, and then they gotta bring us the keys back. And are we charging a deposit for the keys?
No.
I forget, no.
No, they just have to sign them in and out and have their phone numbers.
Yeah, so we know who's coming and going
Most of the
and
people we
who's
know.
been in there to dump, because we did have issues of somebody dumping some household waste and stuff there last year.
I watched
That's how
them.
That's how we came up with that
I
system.
watched them go out of my house.
Yeah,
He's down here.
so really with this, guys, the only motion on the table is if you guys think this is an okay place to explore doing this.
As long as we have a place for our compost too.
Yeah.
And this is a partnership with Director D. So this doesn't cost the village much.
Are we able to sell that compost and, or you go in a garden?
The land, we have to give up the land money.
The compost is asset.
No, the compost.
Well, you probably can. You probably could, Gestapo or not Gestapo, Royal Chapel. You probably could.
For the garden that you
On
want
the
in your.
weekends, you can.
For the garden that he wants on his land.
There you go.
That he wants 30% of.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could stand over there on the weekends.
So if we say yes to the location, that's only really going over the first hurdle. Director Hebert's got to then go to his residents and then get them to approve however much this is gonna cost. And I would
Well, that's
imagine
true,
it's gonna be big money. And then we've also got to get the city of Dawson Creek to amend our water agreement to permit us to do this. So, because right now, we're not allowed to sell to anybody other
Yeah,
than
no
the
kidding.
local residents. So, but this, I think our commitment, if we did something like this, just from a neighborly standpoint, would be a use of the land, and then Public Works could do the snow clearing or something on it as part of their.
Well, I think it would be a great asset for us, I mean, because there's this whole, there's a lot of people that get water, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has tanks, and I sell tanks constantly at the store.
Yeah, and it, from my opinion, we have an amazing relationship with Director Hebert. This seems like a really nice neighborly thing to do, so.
Thank you.
So the water is water. The pump house is still pumping water.
They still charge, they'll come here and get a card. It's not like we're giving them water for free.
No,
Like they'll.
No, I'm just thinking about our water pressure and things like that.
it's come up in the course of discussion, like, well, this is gonna spike the village of Pooskoope's water usage, but, really from the city of Dawson Creek standpoint too, whether those folks filling up at the fill stations there or here, they're the hub for all the water anyways, so really we're just trading one filling location for another, so their concerns, I would think, should be mitigated from that standpoint, because if somebody's getting 1,000 liters here, or 1,000 liters at the current station over there, the city of Dawson Creek's still providing them that water. This facility just saves that resident potentially 25 or 30 kilometers of driving to do that. So,
You're talking about pressure though.
Yeah, I am.
But same thing, our water system, according to Urban Systems, has oodles of capacity right now. We're okay.
So it
Good
would
test for-
negatively affect community water pressure.
Subdivision.
The only water pressure we have an issue with is up the top of the hill.
Yes.
That's the only,
That first.
that's a 57 is what.
There was supposed to have been a pump put in there too.
There's supposed to be a pump at the bottom of the hill to pump it back up.
There's still issues, but
even from an
That's what
availability.
Katrina told us when we were
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, to do West Spruce, yeah. Even from a contractual standpoint, our water usage compared to what's actually available to us in the water contract, we're only using about half, give or take, 60%. So there's definitely capacity there.
We've been conditioned
Mm.
from when we first got that line in,
We had to filter it.
that pump house, because,
The reservoir?
well, I mean, that was a long time ago, that was in the 70s, right? But the cost of our water was just outrageous, absolutely outrageous.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I used to haul water in my water barrel to wash my clothes, just to save money.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I really appreciate having that water, and I can't imagine that.
So it's not gonna affect your water pressure.
No, but having the pump house there, and it all goes into that.
That's not our pump house on the highway? That's
No.
not ours anymore. That's the
No.
city of Dawson Creek.
It's not ours anymore, it's the Dawson Creek's.
So our $700 and some thousand just went down where? To Dawson Creek?
Exactly.
Oh.
It was sold for $50,000 or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, don't even go there, Marlene.
Side chat.
Wow.
But anyway,
That was
So-
a nice sacrifice.
all
Are
we
you-
own is the line on the 211 road, that's the 211 road, right, Chris?
The road coming up here to the water.
Behind those is Joe's place, that, we only own that, we own that line to our water tower.
Really?
That's all we
Yeah.
own.
211 road.
All that
There's a
sacrifice.
reason behind it. I was in on that one.
All that sacrifice.
So what do you guys think? Is that a good,
I'm in favor.
Yeah,
yeah?
I like it.
Yeah, okay. And really, it's on the budget, but it's virtually no cost.
So I can tell when her.
Okay. Sand shelter at Public Works, as the name implies, this is building a covered structure to protect our.
It's a roofing
sand It's a roofing roof.
Not black though, is it?
The roofy roof for the sand. Yeah, it's gotta be covered or it freezes solid, and the reason this is in here, folks, is because the CRS contract, not the CRS, the road maintenance contract has gone out, and the province is evaluating the bidders right now. We have no idea who's gonna be the successful contractor. If it's not CRS and the new contractor doesn't take over that yard, we lose our covered sand because we were buying it directly from those guys. Which means we need to build one of these.
And it's how much?
Blair's got a quote for about 60,000 right now, but he's only done one quote because I didn't know where you guys were standing on it, so I didn't tell him to go out and find us a good price, but it's a big enough structure with concrete blocks and so on and so forth.
Well, CRS doesn't have that thing, can't we use theirs?
And we can use it for Canada Day if it rains.
yeah, right.
You're gonna move all those blocks downtown?
No. We move it over there. So we put all the bouncy castles in that shelter.
Before we jump gun, Highways has always offered Peace Coupe sand. Peace Country did, CRS did. Why don't we hold off and hope that the
And
next
that's,
guys
yeah,
come on
that's
in?
it. This is one of those
Or we might
projects
be able
where.
to use theirs.
Let's move that to
Use
2020.
theirs. So,
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
When they get the contract, then we can say, oh, we need that.
okay, move that one to 2020. Okay. For some reason, I'm not seeing on my screen.
$60,000.
New window coverings.
No way, not
chambers.
10 grand. I want Walmart freaking blinds.
So
What's
loud.
wrong with the blinds?
Mrs. Stokes, would you care to elaborate?
They
You're not
were
nice.
in there a long time.
Yeah,
They're old, they're dingy, they're ugly. We don't
Yes.
like them. We would like to replace them.
But not 10 grand.
That's not the number we picked. That's the number he picked.
Only because
Who
I
knows?
figured those were $1,000 a window.
Yes.
Yeah, they figured it cost them about $10,000, $15,000 to do them initially.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
So where are
I
you
believe
buying
we
them
can do it I believe we can do it cheaper. And I think I proved that with the chairs. But
Just gonna bring
anyway,
up that
Are you
example.
looking at a system similar to what you have now, but in,
I think we're looking at something more inside the frame, so that they're not hanging out. These are starting to fall, if you notice that one
I don't think we
is, that
spent
one
that
had
much.
fallen down, but we had Chad fix it.
I don't think we spent that much money on them.
But maybe just having something inside the,
Carol did all this, can't you tell all the flowers and the.
no, those weren't there.
I
Sandy
know,
put them in.
they weren't there, but they pictured that.
Anyway, that's
No,
what,
these are old.
Yes.
and we're talking just in here, not the rest of the office.
Okay.
Not Chris's own?
No, he likes his, he says they're fun.
I'm okay with them.
He's a guy.
I've dealt with
I know,
like
he
that
doesn't
for
care.
2 years, I'm okay with the blinds too.
He has dead lilacs in his office that have been there for 2 years now.
Dead
He
line.
won't get rid of them.
That's what I'm gonna think every time I go in his office.
He won't let me get rid of them. I put them in there 2 years ago and he still has them.
Yeah.
Sentimental.
He likes them.
Every time I have an equipment sales guy come into my office, oh, yeah, great desk, yeah, have a seat.
Anyway,
White.
that's where we say.
Yeah, yeah.
I do believe we can do it for cheaper,
Well, we'll put
but
10,000.
everyone's arguing with me, so.
Oh, yes, and you can do it for cheap.
Okay,
Yep.
So options are, yes, reduce
Yes,
the amount,
yes.
move it to 2020.
no, change
No.
Sandy's blinds, we love her dearly.
Okay?
Thank you.
Geez, that was easy.
I'll
But
paint them
now
for
somewhere,
9,000.
now somewhere there's a painting thing here
Yeah.
first.
Oh, sorry,
No,
next,
you
you want me to
passed
skip,
her.
want me to skip to that, yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so 21. Yeah, there's
So the
something.
painting of the village office interiors, so this building was redone in 14.
It was?
Yeah, Jonathan did the contract.
Oh, yeah, all the.
Oh, that's when he was on council, yeah.
Yeah,
He did this color.
all
Yeah,
that, and
it
the front
was
desks.
Okay, we don't like the color, we'd like to change it.
Yes, I realize that. For 15 grand?
If I bat my eyelashes at you, will you say yes?
That's just a guess.
So are we going to get a contractor, like 3 quotes and go
Yeah.
through that?
This would be somebody I hope to find and then give them a weekend to do it and say, come in and start Friday night and come in Monday morning, hopefully. And I only put 15,000 in there because I had a house professionally painted years ago down south and it was like $2,500 to do a house and it wasn't even the full house.
So we're gonna do the painting before we do the painting, right?
That would be the idea, yes. And maybe
So
And
you
this,
bring back
address our
quotes to
cracks.
us?
this room's not bad, but some of the other areas in the office, we got a lot of nail holes and stuff in the wall.
Don't pull the TV away.
My office, yeah, my office
There's
is
like
looking
12
pretty
holes
shabby.
behind there.
Yeah,
So can we, we'll get quotes.
Oh,
yes. Okay, I'll skip that.
So are we gonna talk about those cracks and stuff, Chris, too? Like, are we gonna have somebody before you guys start painting, maybe?
That's for the building settlement.
No, it's not from the building. side.
Look at the
The
top.
whole frickin'
Look
wall.
up
I
on
know.
the ceiling.
Yeah.
It comes and goes. We've tried to track down the company that did the engineering and the construction.
It's on this
Is
side.
that a Grand Prairie?
Yeah, the engineering company was out of Grand Prairie. We found.
Bear Mountain.
And when it's windy, the wall moves.
Yeah, I tracked down an office number in Edmonton.
Piece of mold.
Fair Mountain
cover
Construction
that.
is the one that built the
Yeah,
building.
and they're long gone.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I
No.
couldn't track them down. I
If
called
the
Does
them.
wall
he-
falls, it falls on me.
Okay.
It's
I'll get to the
insurance,
phone
number.
then it gets replaced for free.
What if
But
I'm
Sam
dead?
Townsend was
What if I'm dead?
that worked on
Then
it.
your husband
You work on the
Benefits.
job.
benefits.
Okay.
Is your desk really
Chrissy, you only
strong?
think of yourself.
Can you get under it?
And that's what he's been moving a little bit and moving.
I'm out of here. I
Way
do not
back.
feel the love that's going through gone.
Yeah.
Is there
The ground
a
is up about
space
10
up
wide,
there
it
to
goes
go?
like that.
Because it comes and goes. I mean, that
Yeah.
crack
Yeah, I was on-
sometimes will be a half an
I
inch and will come back on
My
Monday and
husband
it'll
said
be
that
right
it's
off.
probably
I was
they
on
didn't
council
put in.
when we built this building.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
But I was told that the
Hangers.
rafters are
I don't know.
probably don't
It's happening
have
out
inputs
front, too.
on the end of them.
But this wall, when
And
it's
that
really,
could be
really
why.
windy, we can sit here
And
and
that's why
watch
we were
it.
trying to track down the contractor and the engineering firm.
You just need a
see-
contractor to
Isn't
open up that
this
patient.
a designated as an emergency center?
Yeah. I think it is, I'm not sure. Is this building designated as an emergency center? It must
Fire-
be because the school came.
The fire hall is.
Why did the school come here when they had
Legion
the
was
smoke,
it too.
the fire
Legion was it.
last year, remember? We had all the kids here?
Yeah, why did we come here?
Because it's an
We're our
emergency.
place.
It's because we're the emergency place for the
There's
school.
nobody attending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the fire hall.
Oh,
So
okay.
the village office is the point of contact.
Right, 'cause they-
Where's
And once
the
everybody's
celebration
here,
center?
yeah, once everybody's here, then we usher them over to the school.
Yeah, okay.
Over the school or the fire.
The school, the gym.
Well, depending on what side of the
I would,
town
yeah,
the
citizens.
fire is on.
And if
yeah.
it's on the Legion, then it's a Legion.
Yeah.
So we're stepping back a little bit, reestablish power at Coos Park. And this would be only to bring power from the little power box at the highway to the bandstand.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that still all in place anyways, or is it?
The flood.
It's
It's
under,
gone?
it's still under the ground, but it's, none of it's usable. We're gonna start from scratch. Yeah, because in the flood, there was a lot of churning water in there, and there was a lot of spots where we had evidence
I
of
know,
it
don't buy it.
digging it up, and yeah, so it's been cut, the old lines are in the ground, they're staying there.
What are we doing to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Can't, it's
SNFA.
So instead of having a buried power line, have it above ground power line.
Does it reach that far, that flood?
It came up right to the edge of the bandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And where's the power come in from?
It came down on this side of the bandstand,
So,
From the highway?
from that back road that went behind the band shell.
Yep.
And then it came across, that's
field.
what, underground.
And it went to the cook shack and stuff too.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where it ran into problems, is because it went to that cook shack,
Yeah.
not because it went to that bandstand,
No,
right? So do you think that the bandstand would be in danger? Is that what they're saying? Next time there's a flood?
Potentially.
Because you know what happens is that the creek and the river, and then it just swirls in there, right?
That entire Coos Park Peninsula
Yeah.
is a different soil composition than everything in
Oh,
the surrounding area. That spot of land only exists through thousands of years of it
Yeah.
flooding the same way it did in 16 and depositing that material.
Exactly.
It's a big floodplain, it's a big
Yeah.
sand berm.
Yeah.
So when we were talking with the engineers leading into the initial Coos Park build, the direction from them was don't plan on if it might flood again, plan on when it will, and
Oh,
build your
totally.
infrastructure accordingly. So,
And me and Barb witnessed a guy like this far from the top of the pole and hooking it. Remember that? Yeah. And we drove down there. We had the council meeting, it was 6:30, and when we came, it was raining. And then we were done the council meeting, me and Barb went over there, and they were looking for, using the fire truck sucking out the ditch, remember that? And then my husband went over there and told him to go rent a big pump. And so me and Barb, for shits and giggles, went and drove down by the park. And there was hydro guys, the water was up to here, and it was just swirling. You couldn't, you
Yeah.
could just see the peak of that little house,
Yeah.
and it was just swirling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we know it hit the bandstand for sure because we ended up having the summer students take a foot or so of sand off it. So it was that far.
Wow.
But yeah, maybe the solution is to go overhead to it. The reason the recommendation is there is that the rec coordinator said he wants to do some band stuff and whatnot down
Well,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, I recommend that.
Yeah, you need like.
Apparently, the last thing we did down
The
there,
lighting.
the generators
Yeah.
drowned it out a little bit.
We need lighting down there too, Chris.
Okay.
Maybe an LED.
only need one.
Exactly.
You only need one.
We need one LED one.
So the only option I put there was we could try running a few events this year and gauge interest before we commit to the cost, but if it's something you guys are okay with.
We need power down here, no
We
matter
need
what's
it.
going on.
Okay,
Yeah.
sold.
Because even if we do July 1st down there, if there's music, they're gonna need.
Yeah.
Post office interior upgrades was, this was in the 2019 column last year.
I just get so frustrated with this.
Well, and it's to update the vestibule at the post office, some new gyprock flooring, and also expand the box areas. The post office clerk last year did say that they're starting to run out of
Where are we
boxes.
gonna put them?
On the inside.
This is one of those projects where if you guys are okay with it, we form it out, say, great, design it.
Right where the doors are.
Architect, get together with Canada Post, decide what you guys need, and let us know. We'll write the check. Because, yeah, I have no idea what Canada Post
Yeah,
needs
I'll write the
operationally or anything like that.
Costs us nothing but money.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing but money.
So on that
Post pay for it?
point, Barb, there's
No.
the issue and what I'm really concerned about with the post office. I believe if we start opening the walls on that property,
You're gonna have
we
trouble.
are going to have.
Big,
Maybe
big.
just a building for them, build a building for them, give the fire department, a fire building.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You guys are really.
But if we do that,
Index.
we might end up losing our post office, period.
Yeah, but if we build the building.
Well,
We
put a
can.
Dawson-
Yeah,
We don't look shabby. I mean, it's old paneling and single pane windows and stuff like that, but I think the things to consider is we've had no requests from the post office to change it. This is something we're looking at doing proactively to make it look better, but are we, you know? and-
There's a grant out there for the outside of the building too.
it's not broke, let's not fix it, because how old is that building?
But it's gotta be updated. Like this is craziness.
And the longer we leave it, the more it becomes a heritage property.
The more it's gonna get, well, it's gonna get worse and it's gonna cost us more.
I know.
At some point, we probably gotta look at that building and to your point, your worship, decide whether or not it's worth fixing or we start from scratch. Because, yeah, this is $25,000.
Maybe it's
That's-
something that we gotta look for the growth. There's other things that we're going to have to do in this street area. We have to extend the fire hall, you know what I mean? We've gotta look not just 5 years down the road, we gotta look 15, 20 years. What are we going to need if we're gonna be building on those lots or whatever we're gonna do?
So then we have to take this park out and use that as, if you guys want another post office, we have to have
The
it.
park next door.
Like
Take out my playground.
No, why can't?
Is the firehouse gonna be built on there?
The fire hall's gonna be all the way across from what's there now, all the way to the end?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh my God.
We're gonna have big fire
Is that not what how it is?
That's the
Everyone,
thought.
well,
Because the,
And that's only because
well, the
there's
search and
discussions
rescue.
for the new truck, search and rescue, ambulance,
fire-
and our CMP.
RCMP, community service.
Two
Oh,
floors?
Wow, like
Can you-
this little
two
village
floors?
is really looking high.
Community search, or
There's a-
what is
There's
it?
a slide in
search and
here.
rescue.
No,
Search and
community,
rescue? No. Community policing, Damien is doing a business study for us to have community policing out here.
Wow.
So, and regional district Leonard will help pay for it. So he will send one of his RCMP out here and they will do the rule and always have somebody. So that's, and then we'll have whatever, right, ambulance or whatever.
Well, before is this something we want to entertain, or should I cross that off the list? Yeah, okay.
Is the museum that desperately needs some work?
I don't have anything in here for the museum right now.
But that goes in their budget.
It could, yeah.
but it's our structure, should
It's
we
our
come-
structure, but we can, yeah.
I thought we were
Each
putting it in
suggest-
their budget.
It's, and I haven't received the museum, no, sorry, I did get the museum's budget on Friday, so I'll have to, I haven't had a chance to look at it though.
Why would it go in their budget? Because it's our building? And would we not contact the contractors what the issues were and we pay the bill?
Yeah.
Did we, Sandy, do that? Do we contact it or does the museum actually contact the contractors?
The last job we had done was the roof,
and we did it.
And we went and got the bids for it.
Okay.
But when they got the bids for the painting, they went and got it.
They thought that they had to look after that kind of stuff. But that building belongs to the village of Poughkeepsie, just like this building does.
Yeah, oh
We
yeah,
have to look after it.
yeah, but I thought it would go in their budget because they looked after the contractors.
No.
Because they did the paint.
You've got a guy over there that's working for minimum wage and you want him to take care of getting contracts.
They did
and
for the
stuff.
paint?
Well, I don't think it's right.
See, when Loran was over there though, when it came to the big contract stuff, she came and saw, well, at the time it was Adam. And he's the one that got the quotes for the roof.
Okay, so then Chris, you'd have to put the museum in there.
Yeah, can you make a note of that, please, Cindy? And add someone else for the museum.
And we need a list from Les of what it all needs to be done.
Are we gonna have another meeting?
Unless.
To continue to finish this meeting?
We're almost done. Lagoon flow meters, the next one on the list. This is this close to being completed. We just have to pull the trigger on awarding it to the contractor. So there's 93,000 available from a provincial grant that's been carried forward from 2015 on this. And I just got the design literally a couple of months ago, just before the holidays.
2015.
So.
A $93,000 grant sitting there.
Yeah, and we've got to use it this year or we lose it. So this is a flow meter to measure the amount coming into the initial lagoon from the main line from the town. Right now, we've got a meter on the way out because we have to track our discharge into the waterway. We've got no idea what's actually coming in. So this will.
I approve it.
We'll
Do
do
you
that.
approve it? Or
Yeah.
approve it?
Yeah.
Donna?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go
It
ahead.
needs to be done.
This is the fire hall expansion project. I've pushed this out to 2020 and then 2021 potentially. 2020 is to actually do the design. Reason I've pushed it out to 2020 is I'd like to take this year to have a lot of roundtable discussions about how this should look, could look, are we even doing it?
When is our new fire truck due?
Sorry?
When is the new fire truck
Shortly,
due? 2021?
forget the exact
Something
date.
around there, yes.
Yeah.
Because they're only good for 20 years. I remember our expansion was taking half of our back room.
So really, not much you guys need to do. These will just be placeholders for those years. Upgrading sewer lines.
Oh, God.
Cousin Robert.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. And we do have to be responsible about this. And Bart hit the nail on the head earlier. It's, we need to plan to replace all of this old sewer pipe before it becomes an issue. Because once it's an issue, then it's going to have unknown effects to other people's properties backing up, and it's going to be terrible. So let's plan. Let's be smart about planning. Let's budget money for doing this. And the concern is with the streets and pavement. Of course, we're not going to dig up pavement to replace this old stuff that has nothing wrong with it. But when we are going to repave, let's have a look at the sewer system there. Exactly what Bart was saying.
Because if they did them the same as they did them over there, it was like a puzzle. When I first got on in '93 and we replaced all the sewer lines over there, they were going like this. There was no rhyme or reason.
There's everyone does that.
Everything, the gas line, I couldn't even put my fence in the proper place. The
And
gas
we
line's
had
everywhere.
a sewer line go, the one up by the Heart Hotel. That we had to replace across the road, so then they had to tear off the road. Now, that whole road needs to be redone because it's settled and it's,
Yeah.
but if it's
But
not
I like
broke.
it. I like it because then the speed.
It's a reverse speed bump.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're talking about community planning, which we are in essence,
Yes.
right? you know, could we not talk about having buried power lines? Right down the road? Just think this is a concept?
I think that's an excellent one.
Let's start with Oaksville.
Or start with West Moose. Council can make that a construction criteria for any development plan that comes in. The lines have to be underground and you guys are
Okay.
completely in control of that, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be like their office and everything.
So would I be safe to say then that this sewer project, maybe we change that number to something like $100,000 a year and we look to put it away into a reserve?
Yeah.
How much is in reserve in sewer?
Don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to do some digging in the records to find it, but.
Did you not say there was a line that broke, or our public works had to go in and fix it, but it was close to the property line, and it was just short and sweet?
It was right across from mine.
Yeah. What we see tend to happen with the sewer lines is it fails at the connection point. So the T-wise, the couplings, you know, the ground moves a little bit, causes it to break there. We don't have a lot of instances where the sewer line will fail somewhere along, you know, just the
Under the
stretch,
asphalt.
stretch of line. No, under the asphalt, like actually in the pipe. So the pieces of pipe can bend and move a little bit, but where the connection points are is the weak
Well,
points.
some of the old pipes are still the clay pipes too.
Yeah.
That's,
Well,
that's what
When
we're,
it failed, when we had that flood, it failed right from the house.
And there's, you know, there's communities out there with sewer stuff that's 100 years old in the ground and it's still working.
Montreal.
Yeah. Montreal, Ottawa. Yeah. So we'll take that off the capital and special projects and that'll become a reserve funding in the operational budget then. Okay. Another little paving project, resurface the tracks on 57th or Old Tremblay Trail.
Why? Because the big trucks go over that.
Well, and that's it, it's pounded right out. CN did the paving of that when they ripped
And CN can do
the
it
tracks
again.
up. I've spoken to Jocelyn about it and it doesn't look like that's an option. They've done their paving, they did, and it's deteriorated.
it's our road.
It's our road.
So then we should go after CRS, because that's the road that they take to get out. Or go after Ministry of Transportation. Because that is a road that they're,
That's the access point, yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's-
Another thing, if we're gonna be looking at that, what is our bylaw for heavy vehicles parking on residential streets?
Isn't it,
It's a no-no.
isn't it that there's a certain
can't be
tonnage?
1 ton and over.
Well, is it being enforced? I'm just,
Yeah, Blair's got a couple
Okay.
of trucks that when he catches them and when he sees them.
how much is that gonna cost?
I asked, one of the paving companies, I won't say who, but, they estimated 25 grand.
Okay, the thing is, if we were going to do paving on any streets, we would do it at the same time as,
I don't wanna, no, it's Ministry of Transportation's issue, because they use that road to get their heavy equipment out. They can fork over the money to pay for that.
I don't think we can make that sale. It's our road. We have to maintain, they pay taxes
Not only is
to
our
us.
road, all of these other commercial properties.
Exactly, they're using it.
Ministry's just gonna come by and say,
We could
well,
explore
We're
that
the only ones
possibility
using
though,
it.
right?
Oh, you could ask.
Yeah, we could explore it before committing the money.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
I could try with CN one more time too, but like I said, the last conversation I had with Jocelyn was that, you know, they fixed it when they took the tracks up, and if it's deteriorated to
So
that.
then give us the line right now.
Well, let's go back to the paving contract and ask for contractor and ask for a warranty.
It does need to be done though.
Beautiful. At least 25 years.
Gestapo. Not Gestapo, Japo.
Blair and I were out there in the fall, it's bad. It's actually really bad. Somebody trying to go over that in a big transport truck's getting tossed out of their seat.
Aww.
So,
We do have to fix that.
yeah.
Can't we just,
Okay,
patch it?
You've got 10 minutes.
So I'll keep it in there, but I'll have a few conversations and see if we can't get some partnering on that.
And yes,
Security.
Yes.
yeah, we want security there and we want it for, skate park.
Yeah, that's what I said, we're gonna finish this.
Goose Park too?
Yes,
We're gonna double that number if we do Goose Park and the skate park too.
because Spruce Park needs to be done.
Okay.
You've already got a tower and LED lights going to be there.
What would be the rationale for doing it at Goose Park, Johnson?
So we.
So we don't, if it's been to catch a truck on fire again. We could see.
I think that's something that we're gonna have to discuss.
I worry about Goose Park. Goose Park's open, we've got very little down there, and
But we will.
We will eventually.
Wait, some truck will park up on top of us. And that's
table.
the cameras in.
but even.
We might as well do them all now, while they're all the same.
I mean, we can do them, but now we're gonna then start setting criteria on Goose Park too, what are we actually monitoring? What are we seeing?
Oh, you'll be just watching that big old bucket rolling across
And
the
that,
lawn.
well, and that place is huge too, your worship, there's 10 acres down there. Where are we putting the cameras? What are we monitoring? Who's responding to the calls when somebody calls us at 2 in the morning? And says, entrance, yeah, or just.
Oh.
Put a camera up at the entrance.
Just so you have access to the video feed, just in case a pickup decides to go down there and rip around the place.
We'll put wildlife cameras on the trees. Motion detector.
Sometimes just signage saying we're under video surveillance is enough of a deterrent.
But now you
too,
just
but-
said that on camera, so
Strike that from the record.
You're gonna have to take that off.
Okay, and if, like I say, if we're going to those, this $25,000 quote was just to do downtown Toronto, the public works building with radio tower connected cameras that all fed into here. If we're going
And then
skate
what-
park 2 and Poos Park, the tower just to connect us, because the towers have to be able to see each other.
And this is, you're talking about Hayden?
Yeah, that's those guys. So,
You couldn't have a localized Wi-Fi. And hold it in.
that's not my forte, Councilor Drover, I'm just going on what those camera guys recommended, asking for something reasonable that wasn't gonna destroy the budget. And
$250, I'd go down to John Deere and buy one.
Yeah, and John Deere had one and they couldn't catch the guys, didn't know, couldn't see the
Yeah.
guys.
Blair had actually suggested the same system,
Oh.
we looked at that prior to calling these guys.
You used to have to come up here with the baseball bat because my name was the first name that they got called when the biscuit, if anybody set off the alarm in this building. Everybody else looked up here. I was way down. Baseball bat.
I'll be honest with you too, one of the concerns with those cameras, when we were talking to the installation guys, was that the feed and the notices got sent to staff's phone. So Blair and I already responded 2 or 3 calls for alarms off and stuff like that a month. When we had that discussion, it was, well, wait a second, am I no longer a 9 to 5 job and I'll just sit at home and wait for all the calls to come in? We gotta consider a reasonable expectation for the employees who are gonna be required to monitor that
And
stuff.
they're always at 2 o'clock in the
So we would
morning.
never-
We have security cameras. When there's an issue, we go back and check the security.
The feed. Yeah.
We don't have someone monitoring them.
That was part of the.
But we should also have one in
process.
Public Works, right? We should have that.
Yeah, Public Works was in this quote, including a radio tower to get the signal from there to here.
So how much would it be to do the skate park too? So another 10 year. And the fire hall, and the post office.
And some, I know you guys have talked about this, but personally,
Carol already said she has no cameras. But we need,
that's one consideration.
we need the
And
doorway.
The other one too, is we're looking at spending this dollar value because of a single incident that took place over at the post office that had nothing to do with us, and it really cost us no money whatsoever. What are we getting, what are we monitoring?
But I think we should have somebody at the skate park, and I think Public Works, and something down here.
preferably at either one end of the street or the other end of the street.
Yeah, like put one on the end of my shop and.
So if we look at it from, business risk standpoint too, let's say this grows to 40,000 to do all of those locations. We're spending that money to protect all those locations. If somebody came in here and cleaned out town hall tomorrow, they'd be grabbing our computers and a little bit of stuff we have around here. We submit a claim to Municipal Insurance Association, we pay a $2,500 deductible, we get it all.
And that's all the information they got, so.
Computers are all password protected, it's all on the system.
Goes back
And
to something.
99% of it's publicly available information.
I think that's a fairly elaborate, if I may, camera system. If it was a local system with a camera and a recorder, a PVR on the inside of the building, in front of the camera, then you're looking at far less expensive. That system, which is that there's not going to be any midnight notifications to anyone on their cell phone. But in case of an incident, you have a reference point to go back and see who the culprit was. A lot cheaper. I think we should
Table is.
explore other options.
Yeah. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna more shake it down.
And then last but not least is just the recode of the chart of accounts. This is just to finalize the budget program there that we started last year. So that came with all new chart of account coding and paid needs to get it into the system. So. And that's about it. So, yeah, 27 projects, 1.09 million. We did triage a lot of them, so I'll put that list together tomorrow and Friday, see where it lands, and I'll let you guys know by email.
Yeah.
And then the updated list based on Sandy's notes will be on that February 20th.
Okay. Anybody see any correspondence here that they want to add?
What have we done?
Oh, 8.6 Bruce Park? No.
No.
Oh, yeah, 8.6 Bruce Park.
Yes.
Do you guys, recommend that?
Oh,
we
you
put-
forgot BC Film.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Oh, on this.
But the BC, Bruce Park, do you guys want July 1st down there? Or do you want it back behind the school? Chris or Sandy needs to know so she can start planning? Or what are we
I
gonna
can't see what
do?
I'm gonna do with that room. We've got
Because-
more room for parking.
It's
People don't have
it's
to
actually
walk.
worse. Oh, you mean here? Or
Down the park.
at Booth Park?
Yeah.
So did you explain?
Why is it
Issues.
worse? We got it down there for years and it was able to park.
You wanna do this, Sandy? I've been talking for an hour.
So, in order to have it down at the park, we have to approach the Ministry of Transportation and Highways. We have to get permits for them to go up and around because they can't turn left into the park.
No, I know.
We don't know if we have enough time. We might be past the deadline already for July 1st,
Yeah, because we used to turn at the loose stream.
and they still would have to.
But that's
And
why
then
they
it's
put that.
the additional
So why
cost
can't
for
we just
flyers.
disband, come back here, disband, they can get their butts down there somehow, some way.
It's our responsibility. It's our event, it's our responsibility.
But if they come back to here, they're
What do you
done.
mean they come back
The
here?
parade.
We're not talking about the parade, we're talking about everybody that's gonna go down to the park.
Barbecue fun.
We're responsible for everyone that attends that event. That's why it was simple behind the school, because they just went straight down there.
Barb, you had a comment?
We have no power down there. We have no, we're not prepared, I say this year, up here. That's my thoughts. Because we're not prepared at all.
Yeah, not by July 1st.
Okay. Miss Varney?
Yeah, we're not ready.
Ken?
He's thinking of ways to charge people.
Yeah.
For parking.
The park has been the draw for the barbecue.
But there is no barbecue because there's no pits, there's no buildings, there's no,
So, and we've got a couple of operational issues with the park right now. That sand isn't really settled. Every piece of equipment, pickup truck, anything that's tried to drive on that thing in the last 24 months has gotten stuck, including fire trucks. So fire trucks are part of it. We've got big cube vans coming in to deliver all the bouncy castles. We've got all the food
You got the
vendors
food
with
truck,
the
yeah.
trailers and
Okay,
stuff.
so we'll move it behind school.
You keep it behind the school
For this area.
this year?
The park's nicer from an aesthetic standpoint, for sure, but
All in favor of the park or all in favor of the school? I say the school
School.
For this year.
for this year.
Yeah, by then we
So
can.
we're all in favor.
Okay, so then there is the BC Films, which is going to be under, what was it, Chris, tourism?
yeah, potentially to work with either tourism
Or-
or a separate special project here under the capital special project budget.
For who's, for the, to promote who's, sorry.
Well, yeah, when you promote Poos,
And
it's gonna say
$25.
directed by Poos Koopy or. It's all Northeast BC in the film.
But it's $25,000, so over the course of 3 years.
I'm sorry. This $25,000 for this film, and then we have the art gallery that was here last night. They want some money, they want to do art programs out here. How much do we give to this culture? Like 25,000 here, I'm sure they want a little bit. I'm just asking.
I have no idea, but remember Dawson Creek cut back the arts. So if we want people to buy out here, we need to maybe start promoting the arts.
Build it and they will come.
I have a fence I've started.
Keep them out. You don't want any crossing.
As long as she didn't follow the wall, she's fine.
Yeah.
I'd have a wall. I'd be in trouble, don't worry. So what do you guys want to do? Yes, no? Make a motion that we put the 25,000 over the 3 years or
I make a motion that we put the 25,000 over 3 years.
over 3 years? All in favor?
Who's the seconder?
No, Ken is.
No. No.
Okay, we're kind of backwards here. We did who's in favor and then first and second. First and second first, please. First, Barb, seconder.
I'll be second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Ken's not, everybody else is.
Sorry.
Fair.
And if we make a profit off of this film, then I'll be the
Do you want your vote recorded?
No, you guys are bear witness.
No, that's not how it works. If
do I
you
have to make a
abstain from
motion
voting,
because
it
we're
means
going over
you're
10
saying
o'clock?
yes.
That's Roger's rule of order, yes.
We can't go over.
Okay,
Yeah.
then it won't be recorded.
That's fine.
overtime, we have to make a motion.
For what? No, no, once we're past 9, that's.
Anybody recommendation here for these things here?
Information?
You guys read our CNP report, you guys
Yeah.
read that.
Yes.
NCLGA board directors, our board chair for the regional district will be on the board. Well, we voted him to go on it. The art gallery, that's 9.8. That's an invitation for us to go. Yes, so that's received as information. Resolution none, bylaw non-administration report.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Chris,
Has anybody
no.
not
Can we just
read?
skip that? Have we read that?
Has
We
anybody
read
not
that,
read it?
yeah.
No, you didn't send it to me.
As presented.
As
Present.
As presented? Okay,
Yeah,
what
because
is
it's
as
kind of
presented?
complicated, unless you change something in it.
No. Did you only put it there yesterday, didn't it?
Did you want to email that to Austin so he has some insight?
I shouldn't email him the full.
Not the full thing, but you
I
can.
can email Nicole's notes when you send it.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll do that for Austin? So I make a motion that Chris will send Austin the cold notes of the CAO report. have a seconder?
Yeah.
All in favor? All in favor? Counselor White, do you have a report?
No, I attended the UBC meeting last Thursday, and I will be attending the library meeting tomorrow night, and I believe their AGM will be before our next council meeting as well.
Counselor.
I participated in the conference call for NDIT. They have a new thing about a housing assessment of communities to look what your community needs. And I think we should look at that very seriously and give grant to.
Housing needs assessment day.
That's right, it's in the binder there. And it's something we say, yeah, we want development, but what kind of housing? So if they do this, they'll tell us, and it might be surprising what we think we need, but it's not what we need.
Solid.
Are you all done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Would you like one?
Okay, Counselor Hubert.
Oh, okay. On Thursday, I went to the UBC meeting that was in Dawson Creek, Kiwanis, and I'm going to a museum meeting on the 12th. Chris, I just wanted to thank you, Alistair, for your time looking for that property. Thank you very much.
Sorry we couldn't track it.
I thought it was really, really old and iffy, right?
Not in the dark.
Yeah, and Mrs. St. Pierre phoned and wanted to give a big bouquet out to the fire department, whoever's looking after the fire department.
Me?
You are? Yeah. She had a fall last Sunday, and Poughkeepsie responded. And when they came home, the fire department, it was Mr. Willems, I believe she said, had tried to dig up the ice on their driveway and put down gravel. Yeah.
Oh, that's very
She
sweet.
was so happy to have that done for her.
Well, she's got the driveway from you know what.
Well, yeah, but she said it was never a problem before, but now it was, well,
No
it was
kidding.
really weird.
Global
Now
warming.
it's a problem. But, yeah, but she just wanted to let the fire department know.
Oh, very well.
Yeah,
I will let Blair know. I'll text him.
yeah, I think that's what it,
And Mr. Drover.
Our courtesy matters meeting has been rescheduled once again.
And you'll text me to let me know.
As soon as I know the dates, but it was rescheduled for the 13th. And that has been changed to accommodate two other members who will not be available.
You won't be here.
And I went to a TLE meeting about land entitlements for Blueberry and the Doig. I have a report here, or a thing here that you guys, I was gonna give to Chris earlier to photocopy. But Sandy can photocopy it and give it out to you guys, exactly what they are going after. And then I went to a PRD meeting, the UBCM was delegation, so you guys basically know what happened. Worked on spreadsheet for the economic development, you guys did. Chris, have we heard anything from Isaac?
No.
So can we hit him with bylaw proceedings, please?
There's nothing, not getting back to us isn't a fileable offense.
I think a letter to him about the broken windows, the,
Oh, I see what
that
you're
kind of
saying.
bylaw
Okay.
Who
thing.
was this?
Isaac, the peace haven.
Okay.
If we can do that, because it's starting to look pretty bad. And then 14 in camera, none, 15 rise and
I just have something quickly, I forgot. South Peaks Health Council, we purchased the building. We're gonna be taking some pictures. We're not really looking for money at this time, but we will be coming back when we need. We've had some First Nations already donate to the building, but we really don't know what we need as yet. 23rd is the next meeting.
That's for the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
the vultures. Is the correct word? In camera none, rise report none, and can I have
Oh, I'd like to make a motion to.